Bonjour, bon après-midi, bonne nuit. Bienvenue à First Touch with Dazwood, Roll Dizzy T-Base. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to First Touch. Had to get my little French on because of the French regional. Thank you guys for joining us today. Happy Black History Month and happy Valentine's Day. Special Valentine's episode for you guys. Gentlemen, welcome. It's good to see you as always. And of course, how we doing?
That was a lot. I didn't expect you to come off the rip like that, but and I didn't know you was brushing up on your French. What you Duolingo over here? Okay, I see you, Damar. But yes, Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to all the couples out there. Everybody who's got a special somebody out there. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, it's a beautiful day. Black History Month as well. To all my peoples out there. So how we doing over there, T-Bates?
I'm doing fantastic, man. There's a lot to talk about in the Rocket League esports scene today. And I gotta say, it's been a while since I've been this excited because there's been a lot of yapping all across the board about a whole bunch of things. And somebody's got to come and preach the truth to the people, and that person's going to be me. So I can't wait to get into that. You know, I do want to commend everybody. I want to say happy Valentine's Day, of course, to every single person out there. You are loved, you are appreciated. Thank you so much for tuning in to First Touch every single week. If you're an avid continuing watcher, if you're new, make sure to stay and enjoy the show. We got a couple special guests coming on in about 30 to 40 minutes tomorrow. Who is that exactly?
So we're going to be joined by two good friends of mine, two insanely talented individuals in the commentary and analytical space of Rocket League. If you've watched RLCS, you know who they are. It's Spaceman and Corelli. They will be joining us today. Obviously, they've both been working on the Luminosity team stream, but they've been keeping involved and active in the Rocket League scene, and we are going to be having them on the show to be able to talk with us today. It's going to be a treat. It's going to be an absolute treat. Of course, before we get into that stuff...
Wait, hold on. I already know you're going to try to transition into the next segment.
I wasn't even going to transition.
Oh, you weren't?
I want to talk to you for a little bit.
Oh, you did? Okay, what we talking about then?
I mean, first of all, I want to talk about how everybody looking. You know what I'm saying? I told you I was going to grow back in a week. Okay, it ain't where it's at, but look, the shaver, you know, it's looking a little bit better. Can't, you know, gotta say that. Roll. I see you changed up the hair a bit. You're back to fro diz, and you know,
I had to get the curls back. You know.
Yeah. And Bates, you look like you just came off the wire. So I mean, you looking ready to really spit some truth or some facts here.
Listen, sometimes you just gotta get dressed up right. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to up the ante across the whole entire esports ecosystem, man. Trying to get to where people dress up a little bit, man. You're on camera, you're on basically esports television. Put a little something in your dressing. You know what I'm saying? But really, I'm coming from school all the time, so every single time this season, so you'll probably see me a little more dressed up than normal. Why are you laughing?
I still see you. I don't still look like the baby. Still, stop calling me the baby, okay?
Listen,
it's the scruffle right now.
The scruffle.
I do feel like I got a little. I got some fuzz.
Wait. Do we call him the struggle? Is he the struggling?
Don't do that. Don't stop there. Stop that. Okay. Listen, you better defend yourself because Johnny's already on you in the chat. He says, "Someone tell T Bates a beanie is not dressing up." Look at him. He's
this
ready
isn't
for
a
you,
beanie.
Bates. Yeah, that's what he said.
Johnny, listen, you better get your coaches right. This is not a beanie. Mr. International himself doesn't know what this is. That is not a beanie, Mr. Boy John. Mr. Boy,
it's crazy.
Mr. Boy John. I can't figure out how to maneuver it though if it's camera. But Damar, they're saying your gain's low. High.
My mic is high. What's going on?
Your gain is ridiculous. I can hear it too.
Okay.
Listen, they can hear you all the way in Copenhagen. Right now.
Gracious.
I don't think they're supposed to hear you right now in Copenhagen right now. Damar, it's supposed to be in about a month and a half.
They're not. Okay, hold on. We can do this real quick. I'm a professional.
Okay, talk to me then.
This should sound a lot better. Okay, we made a couple quick adjustments. We'll work on it through the show. That being said, chat, thank you guys for being as active as you are. I appreciate it. We're going to be interacting with you guys throughout the entire show today. Bates, was there something you wanted to touch on? Because you kind of stopped me there for a little bit before because now I'm about to start transitioning.
Oh, no. I forgot.
Okay. Of course, like Bates had mentioned, though, Copenhagen. Major 1, that is going to be the location. I don't know if we actually had the graphic because I'm not going to lie, chat, we kind of found out when you found out. So not really too much time to be able to get that stuff with you. So yeah, that being said, if you haven't checked out RL Esports on Twitter to see the announcement, tickets, I believe, go on sale tomorrow. So very, very kind of quick turnaround, but we know the first major location going to be in EU, going to be in Denmark, and should be pretty interesting. How do we feel about Copenhagen as a venue? Personally, I don't think I've ever
As a
been.
city?
Yeah, the city.
Let's see here. Copenhagen. I know absolutely very little things about Copenhagen.
Same.
Um, But the land's not for me. It's not for Americans. It's for the Europeans. So I'm assuming the Europeans, y'all really know about Copenhagen. I'm not sure how the train system works. Is there water in between Denmark and the mainland? I'm assuming that you got some trains over there. I'm not a geographical expert, so Chad, y'all can get on me. I don't really care. Go have your fun, laugh at me. It doesn't mean anything to me. I don't know what it looks like over there. But the point is, I'm sure all the European fans are really gonna be there. Listen, and if Gentle Mates and Carmine especially, and both of them are at that land, I'm expecting to see a packed house. No questions about it.
Me too. Me too. People were talking about the size of the venue. I think it's like 4,500 capacity.
That's bigger than San Diego last year.
Yeah. So should be filling that up. I don't think there's going to be any real questions about that. It'll be exciting to see things as well. EU crowd definitely does show up, show out. I know. Definitely want to hear the chants. I'm a big chant guy. So make sure you guys are coming in active. And I kind of want to see if some of those French teams are going to make the hop over there. Because it's it's not France, it's not Paris, but it's close.
Man, those are diehard fans. Those are the true fans of Rocket League. If anybody's gonna show up, it's gonna be those French teams, man. All of them. I think we're gonna see like 4 different sections of just French fans just going
man,
crazy.
listen, there's a little risk involved in that though, because when you got all 4 sections, all it takes is Falcons coming in and swooping and taking out one of them, and the whole entire blue wall, they're over there crying, saying, Lamar, you're speaking French. I'm assuming you're fluent now. You got what is crying in French?
I'm not that fluent yet. I don't know. Listen. Okay, listen. The first, I'll let you know what I said at the beginning. I said, good morning, good afternoon, good night. And I said, welcome to First Touch. That's it. That's all I was able to learn. I'm just now starting to learn. I'll figure it out sooner or later. But
all right, bonjour. And whatever goodbye is.
Isn't that olive? Oh, wait.
No, don't say nothing you don't know. Don't say nothing you don't know.
Oh, au revoir. Au revoir.
Yeah, au revoir. That's
thank you.
Yeah.
See, that's why I love my chat. I love y'all.
Hold on, I'm more fluent than you. Stop.
I say, calm down.
All right, what we talking about today, man? What we got going on?
Yeah, so of course we got we talked about the major. We're going to talk about EU stuff. Again, Vitality, the win streak, how we feel about that. Game 7 Vitality and Gentle Mates. If you watch First Touch After Dark, me and Bates kind of touched on it a little bit. We're going to deep dive into it. See what really happened. Eye test style. Then we're going to talk about the Blue Wall, K Corp, because again, K Corp did, spoiler alert, if you didn't watch, I don't know what you were doing the last few weeks, but K Corp did take that first EU major open qualifier 1, EU regional 1, whatever you want to call it. We're going to talk about some things in the community, because some community takes, there have been some takes. And when we get to that part, that's going to be where we bring in Spaceman and Corelli. So be sure to stay tuned in for that. They'll be joining us for the rest of the show from there. We're going to talk about top 10 lists. First Touch top 10 is back. That's going to be we're already debating that before the show even started. Then we're going to talk about the qualifiers, teams that made it, some topics and discussions around that. And then, of course, as we get towards the end of the show, we'll talk about a little preview of NA Open Qualifier 2. So that's what we got on the docket for you guys today. Be sure to tune in and make sure.
And Johnny's top 10.
Oh, and of course, yes, Johnny's top 10. I said some top 10s. Johnny's top 10 is one of those things as well. So
there you go.
Lots to talk about. Let's talk Vitality. First things first. Vitality's win streak comes to an end. The bottom text says a weekend of all time. Let's take a look at this, man. EU Swiss. You look at the Swiss a little bit here, and it was kind of a little bit of a sign there. Normally, you see Vitality, you see that yellow logo all the way through all the green rounds, but they ended up dropping that first game to 100%. Raul, I know me and you were watching that. I mean, okay, before we even get to Vitality.
Now, let me get in here first.
Oh, okay.
Let me get in here first, because one, I lost a little bet. I don't know what the bet is, so y'all still gotta think about that. But I will say that this Vitality squad, well, I guess they played Swiss on land. Never mind. I guess they played Swiss on land. I was gonna say they haven't played Swiss online though, because listen, when they added Zen, they were in the double elimination side of RLCS 22-23 of spring. So I'm just want to put that out there.
Okay.
They have
It's
played
out
Swiss
there.
on. They have played Swiss in the major, so I guess that don't matter
Right.
to an extent.
Okay. Before we really even get on Vitality took their first loss, and I believe this is probably their first Swiss loss. I'm not 100% sure. I got to go back and look, but either way, first loss of the season was in that first round of Swiss to 100%. Raul, what are your thoughts on 100%?
100%. They came out the gate looking like they weren't even scared. It was like a team who just had nothing to lose. Like they were just playing. They were like, "Yo, we're gonna go against Vitality, the best team in the league, the best team in the world. They just won world championship, blah yada yada yada." They didn't care. They just came into that series. They were having fun. You saw Breezy on the F1 car, like something that we've never seen before. Breezy, known as a free. I'm pretty sure he's a former freestyler. So on that F1 car, he said that there was a particular reason it was faster on kickoffs or something like that. But then you see two new faces, at least to my knowledge. But people said that Crispy and Triton have been in the scene for a while. They have been like the EU bubble players that have never broken through. But I mean, they show promise. They show extreme promise. This 100% squad. After watching them against Vitality, I kind of expected them to make it through Swiss. Unfortunately, that didn't happen because they faced an absolute gauntlet with Karmine Corp and BDS right afterwards. And yeah, they couldn't follow through towards the end of it. But a pretty nice run from 100%. I expect to see more out of them in the future.
Wait,
Yeah.
now also I'm back because Vitality's never played Swiss. Just like I thought. Yeah, so this is the first. Well, they never played Swiss with this roster. So yeah. So people were all freaking out about the 3-1. They just never played Swiss before. Together, no excuse for them necessarily to lose. But I just want to point that out there.
Fair. That's fair. I think that's a fair point. That was Triton's RLCS debut, by the way, for those who didn't know. Big shout out to John in chat.
Okay.
I see. Did really solid. But yeah, face K Corp in that second round. You talked about it. Their run was tough. Ran into K Corp. They went 5 with K Corp too. Lost that one, and then it just felt like kind of a downward spiral for them since then. They couldn't really get back in form. They tried their best, but it wasn't enough. Another team that I think in the Swiss that did do that is Oxygen. I think a lot of us were trying to figure out where to place Oxygen, but Oxygen Swiss run was really. It was. I don't know how to feel about it. Team 3, who made it through, went 5. BDS went 5. They beat Saw in 5. They beat Resolve in 5, and then they lost to Endpoint in 4. I mean, Endpoint, they looked good until they hit top 8. Basically, until they ran into a French team. Well, actually, no, they ran into K Corp. Never mind. They ran into one of the best teams in the world. So really tough there for Endpoint. That series was really rough for them. But they still looked pretty decent in the Swiss. Is this a surprise to you guys?
Oxygen not making it?
Yeah, Oxygen not making it.
I mean, it was a surprise, but I think we all had them in there top 8. That much we expected. That boy Archie, expect that boy Oski, expect EXO to be performing on Saturdays at least, at the bare minimum, if not making it to a championship Sunday. So it was definitely a surprise, but I mean, they started off slow. Like a couple of these European teams started off slow, and then they really picked it up came Sunday. I mean, first weekend of the season. Oxygen, you expect them to bounce back, expect them to be better, and then you really expect them every single time to at least be in that top 8, because they're not. It's becomes an issue.
Yeah, it's an extreme expectation for them to be at least top 8. At least top 8, I think, is the bare minimum for a squad like this with Archie and Oski on the roster. But at a certain point, we got to start asking the important questions, like how often, how much longer are we gonna give Archie some credit, like his kudos? Like Archie, we know the talent that Archie's got, but he's been on rosters that have consistently been not performing and inconsistent. So you add Oski to this roster, and I gotta call it how I saw it. EXO did not have a great day at all. Like EXO was not there, not non-existent. So I really want to see EXO bounce back in the next qualifier. But looking forward, you like Archie. We got to start keeping a close eye on Archie and moving forward, because it's not looking good for these teams he's been on.
What you mean? He was just at the World Championship, back-to-back World Championships, couple majors. He's won a regional before.
Yeah. How long ago?
A year ago.
Exactly. That's a long time, man. Time flies. You got to keep going.
Only
proving it.
only so many teams win regionals, man. I don't know, man. Listen, Archie, I'm with you on that. The expectations are high for that young man. You expect him to be great. You know what he can bring to the table. You know the talent, especially you. And you used to bring it up back about 2 years ago, especially when he was coming up 3 years ago. You know the potential's there. Now, has he necessarily? I mean, he's not on that Zen level. He's not on the Vati level where I think 3 years ago you projected him to be like constantly competing for regional wins every single week in and week out. He hasn't on that level, but he's still good though. He's still great.
I think he's super solid. He's a solid player. He's consistent for the most part, but it's just these teams like he's on that don't consistently perform at a high level that we expect them to. Like he'll have these pop off regionals and maybe this team will place a top 4, but he's not consistently top 4. He's not consistently up there. And as somebody who has expectations of Archie to once be competing at the top, it's kind of tough to see him where he's at right now, especially when you add somebody like Oski to the team who was on liquid and they didn't miss a land last season, I believe. So you add Oski, and I believe Oski is one of the best players in the region. You should have high expectations for this team, and to see them underperforming right now is kind of a bummer.
I hear you on that. They'll be back though. They'll be a top 8 minimum. I would say they should be competing for top 4s, top 2s though. I think they're that good.
Yeah. On. I mean, you guys said it before I could even get in there. I mean, when I look at this, yes, I do see Archie, but I don't know. There's a part of me that just feels like Archie still plays consistent. My concern kind of actually goes more towards Oski, because Oski just came off that Team Liquid roster. Everybody knows how good that Team Liquid roster was. They were top 4 at Worlds. You know, you see what Addo's doing on K Corp. A lot of people, and this probably has not been talked about enough, I think, but a Chronic not finding a team in the offseason, what happened there? Where, you know, why was he not able to land a spot? And then Oski on Oxygen now, not able to make top 8. Although he did make round 5, I do think it's an unfortunate loss. But yeah, when I see, okay, you got Oski on this roster now, yeah, I'm expecting top 8. I am expecting top 8. So I do think, you know, it is, like I said, an unfortunate loss, but I really want to see them bounce back and get that top 8, at least in the next regional, look a little bit more competitive before we really start raising the alarm bells. But just wanted to see where you guys were at with that, because, you know, it's an unfortunate result. I mean, another team we all had making top 8 that didn't was Redemption. They went out round 4. They didn't even make it to round 5. Now, of course, they had.
You say we all? Because I did not.
Yeah, you had Resolve, didn't you?
Yeah, I had Resolve.
Yeah, they also went out the same round.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm just saying I didn't have Redemption.
He just wanted to let us know he didn't have Redemption.
That's valid. But yeah, it's like they had a tough run too. They beat Wild, lost to Gentlemates, lost to Vitality, lost to Moist, all teams that were top 8. Was really tough for them, and, you know, we wanted to be able to see them kind of bounce back too. But yeah, just, you know, I mean, it's tough out there. EU's tough. There's definitely some solid comp, and they showed it, at least in that Swiss stage and even in the bracket. Let's take a look at the bracket here. Now, I remember there was a certain guy, Bates, saying that don't watch EU until Sunday. I say, listen, you watch Friday.
Proven correct.
What's Friday?
Watch
Friday was okay.
Saturday though.
Friday was okay. You had 6 teams on, I believe, on Friday made it through. That everybody expected. I think you got an Oxygen. You're really doing with I guess now Team 3, Endpoint, Oxygen, and Redemption, and maybe a Resolve. And I guess it Resolve like Circle. I'm 100% playing well, but I mean, yeah. Sunday, as you see, Saturday, it's terrible. Sunday, much better.
I went into Saturday. I streamed on Saturday. I was like, why am I here? we know what's gonna happen. But Sunday made up for it. Sunday was absolutely electric. 2 Game 7s and a Game 6 final, and we saw some really great Rocket League that, you know, I don't even think we really knew what we were getting into. Let's take a look at those Vitality and Gentlemates clips, because to me, watching this series, oh my goodness, it was back and forth. It was so tight. Oh, and the clips didn't play. What happened?
Oh no.
Clips broke. But either way, Gentlemates and Vitality, that series just went, it was back and forth. Let's take a look, guys.
Listen, I mean, the series started off little 0-0, but then you see Vitality, they strike, you're like, oh, here we go again. It's gonna be another 4-1. It's gonna be another 4-0. You guys in up high. They're double committed. They can't stop it. All three are up. Nobody's touching the ball. Alpine, what you gonna do? But they weren't done. Alpine kept fighting though. Juicy top corner. I know DeMar, especially I was watching your stream, man, you were gassing them Juicy.
Oh yeah, I mean, game one from Juicy was, I mean, it was so good. His shooting was on point. I think a lot of people, Juicy was kind of the question mark for Gentlemen. Yeah, that one just goes all the way through, and then they just score one towards the end of the game. He ended up ending this one with a hat trick. But
no.
Yeah, just a kickoff. And guess what?
Listen. Yeah, I want to touch on that because listen, you see that goal right there is very indicative and foreshadowing of what plagued Vitality the whole series. I see we're in the game 2, moving on to game 3.
Right, and like, I believe it was somewhere around this time where things started to settle in for Vitality. Like I said, series did jump back and forth. Game 3 is when Vitality really turned it on, 4-0 there in this particular one, and then that was when I think you saw the Eversax timeout. And then when you saw that timeout, I'm like, oh my goodness, I think this one went 7 goals this game in game 4. But just seeing the team and how they
kickoff again.
Yeah.
Another kickoff. Vitality, what's up with the kickoffs? Oh wait, you got another clip here. Is it within the 10-second threshold I like to call? Let me see.
I mean, you saw the kickoff in the clip.
It's a kickoff again.
That's not a kickoff.
Yes,
That's
it is.
not
It's
a
within the
kickoff
first
goal.
10 seconds of the kickoff. I was like,
Zen had possession.
I
can't be a kickoff goal.
We did have possession.
I guess.
Was, that was all. Then oh goodness, what's going on at the goal line?
Oh, but then listen. I mean, Vitality went down 3-1. Did you think either y'all think it was over at this point?
Yeah, I felt like okay they'd win, but then you know what? When I watched this game, you could kind of see it in the cams, and you could see it in like they knew that they were like in danger of actually losing. They said, wait a second, we might actually lose this. Fun fact, if you didn't know, every game with Vitality won, Gentlemates did not score. Every game was a shutout that they won.
Listen, and this game right here was incredible. You see Radosi, he was trying to own goal. If you
that happened multiple times.
He did. He tried to own goal right here too.
Yo, that's the Seiko. He said, Seiko, you got this.
But this game was back and forth. Incredible defense on both sides. Look at this shot right here from Juicy. Alpha half flip into the save. Barely saves, and then Rado, we got to highlight him here because he had a couple of his usual moments. You never know what goal he's going to score on. When he finally gets that one-on-one, Seiko, absolutely incredible.
Big shot.
Big defensive plays all throughout the series. Look at Rado on the camera saying, don't give me no one-on-one. I'm taking it every single time. And then we moved on to chance field and everybody was locked in. But to me, at this point, it felt like it was Vitality series to win.
I agree. I agree 100%. I think, bro, Alpha on this comeback was critical for Vitality. And then as soon as Zen hits this, I'm like, okay, obviously, like, this has to be the biggest momentum swing. But the fight back from Alpine is actually crazy. Like, Seiko's speed right there. He just dusted him. He just dusted him.
Yeah, he did dust him. And they just didn't have the space. I mean, Vitality, they didn't have the time Zen out of position. That was a couple times. And then you get 1-1. Now, I know on the Mars stream, you were locked in, you were tuned in, but then once again, it's Vitality 3-man play. And after this point, I thought the game was over. Cause look at him, he's inevitable.
Look at the time.
I mean, but look at the shot though.
The shot's good too.
And the shot's nasty, bro. Like this shot's incredible. Bottom corner, slaughter shotter.
Crazy.
I ain't think he arrow. I think he just turned. I think he's turned his car. But then once again, the plague of Vitality. Somebody go back!
I don't know why Alpha's flipping forward there.
He did. Listen, he must not have watched the London Major 2 years ago. SG versus Moise. He would have known. The floater of heaven, in my estimation, saved Gentlemates, and then, you want to guess how they lost again? You want to guess? In my opinion, I count kickoff goals, guys. That's the most chaotic time in the game. Within the first 10 seconds, nobody set up in rotations. Alpha's not covering anything. And then Zen in bad position as a goal. Within the first 10 seconds, they had 2 people touching the ball. Air dribble.
Okay, this is a kickoff goal. I agree with you.
Yeah, exactly. It's another, like, because they're not in their rotation. They haven't gotten settled. How many was that in the highlight package? Like 4 or 5?
Yeah,
it was
throughout
a
the whole
lot.
entire series, you see Gentlemates, they were celebrating.
Too many.
Too many.
13.
Too many kickoff goals from that ended up being going into Vitality's net. And that was really the name of the series, man. Because I felt personally, Vitality started off slow.
Yeah.
Started off real slow. But then at some point tomorrow, I think you and me are talking about it. I think in like that game 5, they kind of realized that they could lose.
Yeah.
They could lose, and then they turned it up. Like, oh wow, we actually can lose this, and so they turned it up. And at that point, to me, especially in that game 6, I know the game 6 won the 6-minute overtime, but Vitality had the pressure the whole game. It took a lot of great, and I mean absolutely phenomenal Seiko individual defensive plays.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of Seiko, 2.78 saves per 5 minutes. If you want to look at per game, 3.29 per game. You got to take some of the overtimes into account there. So I did do per 5 minutes per game. Vitality ended up outscoring Gentlemates 15-13. But I think most of those goals were, it was, again, it just happens when, there's those shutout games. Those shutout games were really big. Radosin had the highest shot percentage on Vitality with 20%. Juicy had the highest shot percentage on Gentlemates with 21%. The next ones were Zen with 15 and then Itachi with 14. But you can see just, again, how kind of just locked in everything was, and also just how locked in everybody around the world was when watching this series, because I believe this was around the time we had a really big jump in viewership as well. Viewership soared over the course of the weekend. We ended up, I think, peaking at over 400,000 across mainstream and all the other team streams. And it just felt like that Sunday was just kind of one of those Sundays that I think a lot of us will probably remember, because it basically kind of sets the tone for the season. I mean, what do you guys think?
It did. It set the tone all right, because after that, I've seen a whole bunch of tweets. The tone has been set. And listen, yeah. It's not even gonna be close. You for France on top. Why is everybody even playing Rocket League, guys? There's no reason. Just give them the crown. Yeah, the tone's been set. This is one of the best weekends of all time. This is one of the greatest series of all time.
Yeah, I was expecting you to switch. You got to switch a couple more voices for the amount of people that you're trying to imitate right now, because it was the entire world. It was the entire world.
Everybody's been set. We haven't seen gameplay this fast before. And so,
oh God, I don't believe that one.
and so I mean, I don't know. I mean, the tone's been set. They had an absolutely great weekend. It was great gameplay. I mean, we'll get into how competitive EU is gonna be, because I mean, I said some things FT After Dark, and I'm gonna repeat them. It might upset a couple people. I mean, I'm just giving the facts though. Just calling the facts. I mean, you saw the clips, so I think the clips are gonna back up the factual analysis that Tyler Bates has got to give and speak and just educate all the populace with. But we'll get into that in a second. But it set the tone all right, because now everybody just expects this European top 4 to just waltz by everybody. And yeah.
True. Of course, we'll do the Europe thing in time. We'll definitely talk more EU. Again, I mean, before we even jump through, I do want to, again, Vitality was on that run, and I think a lot of us, I'll go first here. I think a lot of us knew, as a lot of us were talking about as the run was happening, how hard this was for them to do, for them to win all the regionals, for them to win the major, then go on to win the world championship. It was definitely a very hard run, and they were just on a roll, and you have to give them credit to that. And now that it's over, I mean, one, it just goes to show you how difficult it is, but two, you really start to appreciate what you have with it. I want to get your guys' thoughts on that win streak finally coming to an end.
I think it's inevitable. I think it was inevitable. EU did a great job this offseason, collaborating and collecting all their top talents on a single team. As we see, this Sunday wouldn't have been what it was if they didn't have this offseason that we had. So I think it was inevitable. And you see all the fantastic coaches in Europe. They're obviously looking at Vitality as the top team, the target to take down. They were the target to take down. So you want to be that team that takes them down finally, right? You go into Swiss stage and you see them lose to a team that's 100%. So if you're a top 4 team coming into this, or somebody, or going into Sunday, you're that top 4 team playing against Vitality, you're like, yo, 100% just took them down in Swiss. That's like a weak, that's like a chink in the armor. You see them, you see blood was struck. So okay, now there's blood in the water. I'm attacking. And that's exactly what they did this weekend. It was inevitable, and hey, we saw it. I think it was a fantastic run, and moving forward, I think they're gonna lose a lot more, but I still think they're gonna bounce back.
I didn't like it. I mean, it gets into the conversation earlier. Are we gonna show the Vitality game 7? Or are we just gonna skip that?
No, we can do it. I just wanted to get the thoughts on the.
I mean, that goes into one.
We can jump into it right now. You want to just jump into it right now?
What? Not the Vitality thing. I was talking about how competitive EU is gonna be. Because me personally, I mean, it kind of felt a little fluky. I didn't feel right. Kind of felt like Gentleman's got lucky. It's okay though.
I just don't believe that though.
It's okay though.
They got lucky.
Yeah, he's saying that the Gentleman's win is a fluke.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, I mean, okay. You saw the clips, right? So how many goals you said, DeMar? They scored.
Gentlemen scored 13 goals. Vitality scored 15.
Okay, and we saw about 4 or 5 of those were kickoff goals. Not kickoff, either immediate kickoff goals, like within the first 2 seconds.
Fix your kickoff.
Oh, exactly. And so when Vitality fixes that, which is a very easy thing to fix, because Gentlemates really compete with Vitality. Like, are we talking about Gentlemates? Guys, see, that's the thing. Because now everybody say Gentlemates, they're top 3, top 4 in the world. Well, are you talking about them that way if they don't get the kickoff goal? If they don't get the floater from heaven?
I mean, if they're competing against a top 2 team in the world to game 7.
But you also then you got to take into account how slow Vitality started, because the Vitality in the first 2 games.
That's their fault.
It is their fault. It is their fault.
Right.
And that's on Vitality for not coming prepared to play.
Right.
So why?
How much is that? How much is that? Is Gentlemates though? Is that good Gentlemates or bad Vitality?
What do you think, Ron? I just want to hear.
Is this what we're actually gonna? Is that bad? Bro, if we're gonna quantify like that, you could say that to any team. Yeah, you could say that any team. Like, is that bad Gen GG2? We had this conversation last week.
That's why I'm laughing.
This conversation was last week in NA.
No. Because the difference is that you can't say it was bad Gen G. Because Gen G had just 4-0 Shopify, so I don't want to hear none of them excuses. Because Gen G was just on, and then you got slapped. So it was a great G2. I had something to base it off of. It was the first series of the day. I mean, Gentlemates played solid against Karmine. They played solid, but I think they also played solid against Vitality. I think Vitality played significantly worse than they usually play. You saw it, and it's so. But you got listen. Let me hear me out. The distinction
so much.
The distinction. It's so like the eye test. And also it's probably back statistically as well. So all my statistician nerds, y'all better open up the textbooks and get to work. Open up the Excel sheets and figure out things. Game 1 and game 2 Vitality was not the same Vitality as game 5, 6, and 7. Those are 2 completely different teams.
They came.
Those
off
are 2 completely teams.
They came off a 4-1 off Moist.
That was the day before. It wasn't the same day. You know, Rocket League's a day-by-day game. That's why I hold the Gen G thing against them. Because Gen G had just played. They literally just 4-0 Shopify. If Gen G had played great on Saturday and 4-0 somebody, and then they came out and they played bad, I'm like, maybe that's just bad Gen G. You know, Rocket League's a day-by-day. But I literally just seen them 20 minutes before.
So now if Vitality comes out the gate sluggish every single time, we're just gonna discredit the first like 3 games. If they lose a series because they're coming out the gate slow every single time, and then they run up against a top team.
No.
How can you expect them to beat someone like Karmine Corp if they're gonna come out the game sluggish and they're gonna lose like the first 3? Like Karmine Corp's not gonna give them games back.
I mean, they're not. I think what we shot. They're not. I'm with you. They're not. They're not gonna beat them. Karmine's gonna whoop them. What I'm saying is, I think we learned that the Gentlemates team can compete with the best. I think there's a question mark about that, and I think you learned that they can compete with the best, and I think they have a solid floor. I didn't really see, kind of like when they beat Vitality, I knew they weren't going to beat Karmine. I knew that wasn't going to happen. I knew that. Like and there's other people. I seen people in the bar chat. It's going to be 4-0. It's going to be 4-1. And then like other people were thinking that. So it wasn't just Tyler Bates thinking that. And that's no disrespect to Gentlemates. But if Vitality had won that series, the conversation would not have been the same. And so taking that into account, I think Gentlemates played solid But you gotta really look at the kickoff goals. You gotta really look at the whole entire series in totality. Vitality slow, kickoff goals, Gentleman playing solid, that ends up getting you the W. And that's okay. That's okay. And that's okay. Like that could be honest. That's honest. That's the honest truth.
Yeah, okay. I hear you. I do hear you. I think that we are not giving kickoffs their credit here because I think kickoffs are starting to evolve.
Yeah,
it feels
you're doing
like
a Karmine kickoff.
Right. You have Karmine doing kickoffs. You have, I believe it was a series LGG2. Somebody did Spanish kickoffs there. We saw, like you said, the double kickoff. And then, I feel like there has to be more attention paid to that, especially if it makes a difference in a series.
But these are the standard kickoffs. These are the standard kickoffs. They weren't doing nothing crazy. It was a standard kickoff. They did a standard G kickoff. Alpha flipped up the field.
If you're a world champion, I think if you're a world champion, you shouldn't get 5 kickoffs scored on you. Like, there's adjustments that have to be made mid-series. Like, it has to happen.
Okay, I hear you on that. There are adjustments need to be made, but sometimes the adjustments can't be made. They got plenty of world champs that have
What do you mean
bad
they
days.
can't be made? You're a world champion. You have to make the adjustment.
Okay, listen, I'm sure. I can't. Dang. I don't know who won the Premier League, man. I don't watch soccer, so I'm going to basketball. So like the Nuggets might have a bad day every once in a while. That's fine. That's fine. I think you learn something about the team that beat the Nuggets, but that doesn't mean that team's better than Nuggets, or that doesn't even mean that team's on the same caliber as the Nuggets.
I agree.
That means that team can't compete with the Nuggets.
Vitality.
But now all this nonsense, and we're getting these top 10s. Because now all of a sudden, just because they score a lot of kickoff goals, Vitality plays bad, all of a sudden they top 3 team in the world. So now I'm not seeing the correlation.
Because they're better than G2.
Because Vitality lost another series this weekend, and who they lose to tomorrow?
What's this have to do with
100%.
They lost 100%.
That was 100%. I'm seeing some people calling 100% top 15 in the world.
Vitality need you though.
Vitality can lose series, bro. You can lose a series and still not be on that same level as another team. Or you can win a series and still not be on the same level as another team.
But I don't think anybody is saying people may have them higher up on their list, but no one is saying that Gentlemates is better than Vitality.
Yeah, no one said that they're better than Vitality.
They think they're close though. I don't think they're close.
You just don't like how close they are to Vitality.
No.
You don't like how they have them above G2.
I mean, G2.
I think it's a G2 thing.
G2, Gen G. I mean, we got a couple great teams over there that I don't know.
Yeah,
I think they're
we might as well just skip the replay, man. We don't need to watch that, bro. We got things to talk about.
Okay, I mean, all right. If you don't want to watch it, chat. We're gonna break down Game 7 Vitality versus Gentlemates. You sure?
Listen, that's up to you, man. I don't know how the quality's looking. I don't know what we're looking like. I don't want to take a risk the biscuits.
Fair. Chat, just for some transparency's sake, we were having a little bit of internet issues earlier in the day. We tested out the replay. I'm not gonna lie, it looked real blurry. So we don't want to show you some blurry mess as we try to break it down. We're real passionate people, and if you see us yelling over some blurry replay, you'll be like, "What's going on?" So
they're gonna say NA production.
Yeah, you'll say NA production. People are the chat saying, "Break it down, give it a shot."
Fine, we can give it a shot, man. Come on.
For you, we're doing it for you. If it looks bad, though, we're shutting it down. All right. Can I get a full screen, please? Hello.
I make that bad, man.
Okay, anyways, let's go to the gameplay. All right.
You watching the whole game?
You want to see the whole game? Do you want to see everybody's boosts? I can show up all the boosts too at the same time.
You can do all that, but can we not watch the whole game?
Yeah, we cannot. We don't have to watch the whole game.
Watch critical moments.
All right. Well, we have all the moments down here, so I can just zoom in on whatever moment we want to see.
I mean, if you want to watch the whole game, it will really just only exemplify what I'm talking about.
Okay, well, first off, here we're gonna go zip POV here. Okay,
Actually,
we have a whole game.
Yeah, whole game. Let's keep it running.
Okay. So boom, right off the kickoff, go for Vitality. Interesting.
That was a nasty move too. He cut that quick.
Exactly. Okay, yeah, we got everybody's boost. You see Zen stats there on the screen too as well. Already, just look at this, trying to get that early pressure. I'm looking at Alpha. He's immediately gonna leave. There's a demo in the back end. Rado got demoed. And he look at Zen. He's taking his time here. And then Alpha's just up so quick. But even Seiko played the miss.
Oh, that's gotta be a goal, bro.
If Seiko didn't play the miss,
it was so clutch for this team.
Right.
See, here's what I'm talking about though, because this was just a continuation of Game 6 about how much pressure you're gonna see. Vitality put on this gentleman squad this
Yeah,
whole entire game. And which, like I said, it's going to show how good Gentleman's is because they can deal with the pressure. But also, I
right.
think it shows levels to the game. It shows levels. When you can keep the offensive pressure and make it where the opposition isn't getting that many clean opportunities, they might get a shot every once in a while or something like that. But if you could do that, that shows you're at the highest level of the game. That's what the best teams in the world do, bro.
Dad, you know what this is reminding me of?
What's
What?
up?
This is reminding me of
Zen, what's
NRG,
that?
G2, the
old days.
patented old days
Yeah.
where NRG would always win that matchup, and teammates would be like, they shouldn't have won, because G2 is always out pressuring them. Because a team is outstanding in defense and can outlast a team in defense and wins that way, that meant NRG was better than G2.
No.
More often than not.
No. And NRG was probably better than G2 back then. I'll tell you why. Because G2 can't play no defense, but this Vitality team can play defense. They got the great offense plus the great defense, and that's what it takes to become world champions in these days. Look at this. How many shots does Alpine have? Realistically, I don't know what's the scoreboard looking like, but realistically, that one shot. Keep it going. And I don't even remember that one shot. What was that? Like, they have no pressure, bro. They're on them. That should be a goal. Good save.
That's a good save from Seiko. I think Vitality, I mean, you got to start looking at like first man too. When they get on the ball, what do they do when they're not on ball? Because this game was definitely off ball plays were so big. Like, even look at Alpha, right? He's off ball. He rotates back. He can't get a bump. So instead, he sees Zen in the air, immediately goes for the ball there. Look at Itachi on ball, getting those bumps. Zen has 0 now. He's playing 0, has to play 50. Look at Alpha. He's so close. He got to get that good follow-up. But Itachi's there to read it too. Pass to Seiko. Itachi. Itachi's playing close here. Says, I can't get a bump. I can't do anything. Riddles is on the ball. So instead, I'm just going to play 50, buy my team some time. Like, you got to pay attention to what people are doing on the ball, especially in terms of this game where it's just decided Seiko's at a boost 0, but Juicy.
Zen, get some boost.
Yeah, Zen,
my gosh.
Zen felt really limited when I was looking at this from his perspective too. You know, we didn't really see him have too much space in the air. I mean, even when he tried to go off the back wall there, instantly challenged it by Itachi.
I mean, that's what Europeans do, though. They like to close down the gaps. But now you start seeing gentlemates. They finally start picking up the pressure within the last 30. Still ain't got no clean shots, though. But they're finally starting to get at least a foothold in the game. But for the first minute and a half, I mean, they didn't really have that. And I really...
all of it is off ball. Like, you see so many more demos coming out from Vitality than you do Gentlemates, and this is what it's allowing them to have all this offense.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Look at all these demos.
I got to go back here because look, Zen's playing second man, right? First man gets a touch, Alpha gets a bump. Instead of playing ball, he's like, all right, I can't bump him, so I'm gonna just go over here, get us a bump here.
If Alpha drops that down, that's a goal. Like that's what I'm saying. Like, people are gonna call me a hater. You watching the tape? These are not two teams on the same level in my estimation. I'm just calling like this. Vitality's got what, 7 shots now, 8 shots? They probably should have about 3 goals. And like 2-3 goals at least at this point. This isn't on the same level in my estimation. That's all I'm saying.
But also, how many of those shots are actually shots? And how many of them are just the ball going towards the net?
Nah, they've had good shots. Or good, like...
And because Gentlemates only has 3 saves.
But, I mean, sometimes saves a little weird. But yeah, I mean, it depends.
The follow-up shots, if it's not enough time, then it won't count as a save.
Yeah. Bad Roto. I think he had a lot of faith in Rado getting there quick.
Yep. And then, boom. Seiko with the speed he saw it.
Yeah, it's such a great play from them offensively.
Yeah, it's a good play. And that's what it takes. But I mean, that's like when they're what they have like 3 real opportunities. Now you could say that the great teams that capitalize on those 3 opportunities, and sure they do. And that's why Gentlemates is a great team. But I mean,
so if they have great defense and they can capitalize on opportunities offensively,
they're a great team.
Then they can compete with them.
Yeah, I know they can compete, but I'm just trying to set the framework.
So there's not really like a
not on the
complete
same
level.
No, there's levels to this
What
game.
do you mean they're not at the same level?
Listen, we'll get into the top 10. We'll get into the top 10 later. There's levels to this game.
They are at the same level. That's why they beat them.
Is that what it is?
They're generating opportunities.
So 100% the same level as Vitality.
They are.
100% same level as Vitality?
Yes.
Oh my. Don't say that.
Don't say that. That's crazy.
No, don't say that.
I don't know where to gauge 100% there. But okay, here we go. Last
It's
play.
a nasty
Alpha
play.
lead block. Rado playing close.
Look at this shot,
out.
though.
Zen, great shot there.
Is that even an arrow, or did he just turn? Is that a little bit of arrow?
He arrowed.
Yeah, he did arrow. That's a quick arrow, man. And the precision too. He's so good.
And then
Okay.
disaster.
Let's go to alpha camera.
All right.
He's still trying to play aggressive with
I
10
don't know
seconds
why.
left.
Now on the cameras, when we play the highlight package, and also just going to the VOD stream, you can see that he realized he had messed up. They almost scored here though at the end.
Yeah, right. They had possession right off kickoff, played it high, and then hit it across. Rattle with the
Save.
clear. Zim was trying to keep it up. Oh!
Oh wait!
If he gets a better touch there.
If he doesn't
Oh
boost
my
when he
God.
catches it, he might have it.
Yeah, that would have been crazy.
They'll go for his little air dribble bump every time. And what a play by Juicy,
He
honestly.
was off a cover. He's forcing him high, but he didn't get ball or player. I don't know. Happens. But
Well, he's supposed to force him on the back wall. Who's on the back wall?
Zen is on the back.
Zim was on the back ball, but the ball hit the ceiling a little bit.
Yeah, and you saw it. Like
Yeah.
he used the
Nah,
flick
Juicy
to,
just outplayed him, man.
Yeah.
So ball hit the ceiling, so then it puts Zim in a little bit of bad spot. Juicy got back to the ball in time. That was a great play by Juicy.
Yeah, I think it was a great play, great replay. And like I said, I've been trying to say this. Juicy has leveled up. I feel like he's so much more comfortable on this team. The way he's talking when we see him in the cams, he's very passionate. His performance was something that has to be worth note. I was really happy with what I saw from Juicy there. So, and yeah, that's our Game 7 breakdown. Chat, I did not have chat up the entire time. Did you enjoy it? Let me know. It doesn't seem like anybody's complaining. So,
Listen, no
sounds
need
like
to
you
complain.
guys. Sounds like you guys like that one. So, boom, cool. W breakdown. Appreciate it. All right. So that was Game 7 Vitality versus Gentlemen. Let's talk K Corp. New look, Karmine handles business. Rise and Vatira still don't lose. It was really cool seeing those guys play together over at Karmine Corp as they ended up winning the regional event. And we end up seeing them K Corp get that top spot that some of us kind of knew that they would do. And let's take a look at the K Corp Gentlemates wipe. Raul, thoughts on Karmine Corp's performance?
I mean, this team is undoubtedly, they looking like the top team, the best team, the top team in the region, the best team in the region. I just have to, like, he looked super shaky on defense. That boy Atau, I gotta give him props though. For all the defensive hiccups he had, he just produced 2 times the amount of offense for this roster. This is exactly what they brought him on here for. He was creating demos, havoc, like you see right there, or he was creating it with his mechanical ability on the ball. He gives so much space for Vatira and Rise to come and do whatever they want to do. Rise also another guy who's facilitating and demoing a disruptor, but it was Atau. Like Atau, but Karmine Corp could go down and Atau would get the ball. Like he would make a mistake defensively maybe, and that would concede a goal, get it right back on offense. Atau was the player on offense for this team, which in my opinion was the MVP for this team because of the amount of offense Atau created for them.
There's that double kickoff that they had. Beautiful play. They busted out a couple times and then they end up scoring off. Look at the hype off them though after this too. Oh, look at Finley. Rise is just a winner, man. Rise is just a winner. And then Alpine, I think this came fresh out of Eversax timeout. You know what happened? They ended up winning 5-1. We go into the next game. Eversax doesn't lose after his timeouts. And Alpine, like Gentlemates, Alpine, they keep it close. They keep it consistent. And what we just saw, like even the replays, they're a great team. They're a great team, and they're always gonna play the best of the best. Really tight, and you gotta play your best game, or definitely not your worst game, if you want to beat them.
Oh, for sure.
Wait, you hear that, Dez?
What
They're
happened?
gonna play the best of the best, really tight, which means they're on the same level. That's crazy. I keep going.
That's like saying when the Detroit Pistons play the Nuggets tight. The Detroit Pistons and Nuggets on the same level. No, actually, no, that's just
basketball.
But I mean, like they lost, but when you look at the match, okay, we can't talk about that here.
Look at that. And then after this, man, a beautiful bump. Seiko was caught out a little bit right there. He had just landed, I believe, on that goal. And then another kickoff special right here. Rise immediately. Addo, one-on-one.
Look at
Rise
this. Look at
getting
this
the bumps.
fake.
A little doink.
Bumped them into it.
And that was just basically a great exemplar of what this Karmine Corp team is doing the whole entire series. Physicality, creativity, playing the Rocket League not in the standard or Rocket League rules, cut and rotation, double committing on kickoffs, double committing on shots. I mean, they were doing all that, but they're very effective with it, and they played an absolutely great series, great weekend. That's how they end up coming out on top.
Absolutely. It's something that's really interesting because I know we've seen, a lot of flashy Rocket League plays throughout our years. But the way that EU was playing didn't really leave too much room for that. Cutting down space takes away opportunities for plays like that to be made. And then it really does come down to how well you guys are functioning as a team. And you can see that. Of course, everybody still has the mechs. You're seeing people trying to go for the musty doubles and things like that, making things work. But all in all, at the end of the day, how well is the team working? What's the first man doing off ball? Is the second man in the right spot? What's third man? Where is he at? Is he dodging a bump somewhere? What's everybody's boost at? I really enjoyed watching that because it did come down to all those little things over the course of it, and it feels like K Corp perfected it, even all the way down to the kickoffs. I like seeing them. I like how they look. Sorry. It's hard when you go last, but I gotta start going first now. That way I can just get my thing, have you guys go, and then I can just transition. Question is, how competitive will EU be at the top of this year? All French top 4 EU leaderboard. Throw it at us. Right now, you can guess where it is. K Corp sitting at the top. Gentlemates at 2. BDS at 3, Vitality at 4, tied, and then it's Endpoint, Magnifico, Moist at 6. I mean, these are the point standings. You can see them for yourself. Take a screenshot. Personally, I will go first. I think that top 4 moves around quite a bit. I think K Corp will be able to maintain their top spot, maybe battle for that 1 and 2, but Vitality, I think they'll end up trying to battle back. It'll be interesting to see Gentlemates and BDS, what level they kind of go to compete against Vitality and K Corp, because we know that they can get them all the way to game 7 at least. But as teams start to adjust on these matchups, will the narrative kind of change? Will BDS with Monkey Moon and Exotic get to that number 1 spot again? Is this Gentlemates squad, is it a fluke, or are they actually really here, and can they really compete with those top teams? We'll see that develop a lot, but personally, I'm expecting even around World's time we get there, unless we really see those changes happen. I'm expecting that K Corp number 1, Vitality number 2, and then Gentlemates and BDS kind of battling for 3rd or 4th. What do you guys think?
Agreed.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty much them top 4. I want to highlight BDS though. I think if Jolly can become a little bit more consistent and a little bit more composed, this was his first performance and he looked super shaky towards the very end of their run. But if he becomes a lot more consistent and composed, I genuinely think BDS can be competing for a top 2 spot. Exotic and Monkey Moon looked incredible this weekend. Exotic, like I didn't know Exotic was that type of player. Like he's, in my eyes, one of the most improved players from last split to this split, which is crazy to say because he was on the top 2 team, but maybe I was just underrating him, but he looked incredible this weekend. Looks like a great Robin to Monkey Moon's Batman. It might even be the other way. Like Monkey Moon might be Robin in this case if Exotic can keep that consistent performance up. And it's just Drawley. I said I needed to see him this weekend. He looked like he had some potential. He looks like he has potential. He has potential definitely, but he's just inconsistent and just need to see him a little bit more composed when the brights are light, or when the lights are bright.
When the brights are light.
Brights are light.
All right. All good. I'm with you there. I'm in agreement there. I do. I want to see. It feels like to me, Drawley has it down. So I want to see if he just, as they get more events with each other, do they grow? Of course, that is where we're at with Europe. But we're not the only people who had takes about Europe. The entire community had takes about the regional. Some people really took what they saw and are carrying it. They're keeping it close. They think it's something great. But before we get into it, let's bring in our guests. We have 2 very talented, very illustrious guests joining us here today. The LG team stream. If you haven't seen it, you're missing out. You need to go check it out right now. My good friends, Corelli and Spaceman, going to be joining us here on the show. Gentlemen, welcome. It's time.
Thank you very much, Daz. Thank you for having us. Spaceman, how are you feeling today? Feeling great. I got something we wanted to say real quick.
Fate of the universe on the line, or the Martians have the death beam pointed at Earth.
That's
you
right.
better hit it. I want
Slater.
Slater.
Give us Slater.
Give us Slater.
Doesn't matter. Give us
doesn't
Slater.
matter. It's Slater.
It's always
That's
Slater.
who we want.
That's right. The death beam's going to come for Slater, and he's going to send it back.
That's right.
Okay,
What
how
just
y'all doing?
happened?
I
How y'all
got
doing?
Everybody having a good day?
Fellas?
Fellas?
I mean, I listened. I listened. I interpreted. It was great.
That's right. LG's in the building.
Yeah.
LG is in the building. They got the top
That's right.
slots. They got the bigger cameras, and I hope you're all ready to have some fun. Nice to see both of your beautiful faces, though. It is nice to see both of you. Jack, you got beautiful lighting.
Thank you.
Sean, where is your lighting?
Okay.
All right. So, bro said game winning shot. He wants Slater to take that shot. Okay. They
That's
are
right.
paying you guys.
That's
All right. I love that. I love that. All right. Well, listen, keep that bias right where it was.
Okay.
Because right now,
Mhm.
we need to talk about what everybody's been yapping about. And a lot of people have been doing a lot of yapping. Let's go to Exhibit A, or maybe I should say Exhibit J for Jorby. Pull the
Oh,
tweet
no.
up.
Not a Jorby tweet.
I'll be honest, NA has no shot. Now, for those of you, we were going to have Jorby on. Of course, you saw him tweet, power outage. Wasn't going to be able to make it today. But that wasn't going to stop us from having this conversation.
You gotta set the floor. I'll set the floor.
So you set
when
the,
did he
set the
tweet
floor.
this?
I'll set the floor. All these tweets came out after the epic European weekend that we all witnessed.
I'm pretty sure I said that, though.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear you. My bad. I was
That was
still.
before I brought in the guys.
Oh, well, that was a big. Oh, okay, that's why.
Yeah. But of course, that's not only it. Now let's go to Exhibit A, Arsenal. Throw it up, Ben. EU is so much better than NA. This is wild. Shrug emoji. Let's throw up Exhibit A2, Achilles tweet.
There's another.
NA need a culture change to start closing the gap to EU. Almost zero teams boot camp. Still recycle talent this offseason for the most. Maybe need the salaries to take a big cut so the region wakes up and realizes they are blessed and to put in more effort. So there's a lot of EU truthers out there saying that after what we saw this weekend, North America doesn't stand a chance. They need to go back to stage one, start all over. We might as well have the trade window right now because this ain't it. I'm going to give it back to the LG boys because guess what? Mr. Slater with the death beam, I'm going to need you to defend that.
That's right.
So what are your
that's right.
thoughts
All right,
here?
listen,
How are you
okay,
feeling here?
Don't phrase it like that, bro.
Okay,
all right,
then maybe
listen.
not defend it, but at least let me know what you think. Let me know what you. Oh yeah, I guess that's.
I don't
yeah,
understand. I don't know why. I didn't need to see this weekend to know that EU's way better than NA personally. Like I don't like this weekend is just another day in the shop for Europe in my mind.
That's
I
right.
think when you look back towards especially the last two RLCS lands, the proof is there. The last few World Championships, the proof is there. The majority of the open era lands, the proof is there. I didn't need to see this weekend to know that. It helped, but I didn't need to see this weekend to know that. And I think I would then ask the question, what is it that's coming out from NA that would make you think that they're better than Europe? That wasn't rhetorical. I'm genuinely asking. I'm genuinely asking because I don't see it. I don't know where. It's not that NA can't win. Like I know Bates about to talk. He's good. G2's great. G2's all that. They are. They're good. Those are good NA players.
That's right.
Can they beat the best of? Sure, great. You can have that. They're great players. Could they maybe beat the best of EU? Maybe on their best day. Yeah. But that's like one team. For
I think
every
G2
one
that's all they
G2, there's like for every one G2, there's like 3 EU.
But we had
That's all-
GG.
Okay,
Who got
let's
crushed by
relax.
G2.
Let's relax.
They
I
did
think
get crushed.
G2 is all we need.
No,
That's
I
the-
think
that-
we
that is-
need
that is-
GG.
that is NA's last
I
word.
think we need
I won't
GG.
say that. That's
I
copium.
think
That's
we need
copium. That's
GG.
copium. And people like Johnny are gonna run with that. Jack, what I'll say to you, well, I'll say your question is this. Because there's a lot of aspects of this conversation. One, we're gonna have to get into that boot camp nonsense. That boot camp nonsense is gonna have to be debunked. We're gonna shut that down soon. I'll tell you that much right now. I don't want to hear no more about no boot camps by the conclusion of this stream. I need to be done. So no talking about it. I don't want to see nothing on socials. Just listen to base gospel. Now, nobody's saying that NA's better.
Okay.
It's the tweets though. It's the tweets. I'll be honest. NA has no shot. What do you mean they have no shot? What are we basing that off of? What are we basing it off of? You're gonna say. I already know what you're gonna say, Jack. The last few lands. Oh, Jack, let me tell you something.
Those do matter.
Everybody last season was
They are
saying.
good.
That's a big contributing factor.
That's a big point.
No. Let me tell
Actually,
you
what
something,
he
Jack.
said.
I'll tell you exactly because last year it was NA. They're just two. They don't make no moves. No, everybody. They're just sticking with the same teams. NRG, make a change. G2, what are you doing? Vitality, Europe. You see what they're doing over there, man. They're just switching teams left and right. If they don't think somebody's good enough, they're getting them. They're dropping them, and they're picking up the next best talent. So you know what NA did?
Just
Copied
that.
Europe. They just that. And by the conclusion of the first weekend, by the NA weekend, I was hearing, oh, that man G2 squad, they looking good. They looking great. It's scary now. Listen, they got Daniel Beast Mode and Atomic. Oh no. And then all of a sudden you see EU now, and now the goalpost is shifted. Now they still have no shot. And they have no shot because you look at the last two lands, you see the EU's been top 4. Well, that was a different LCS. This is new LCS. This is LCS 2024, baby. This ain't LCS 22-23, Jack. And let me tell you, NA and also other
So
regions.
we're just saying ignore the history? We're
Well,
just gonna
listen,
ignore?
no. Because we're talking about open era history, and let me lay down the facts for you. I would love to see
No, please do.
I would
I'd
love to
love
see
to hear the
Jorby.
facts.
I would love to see Johnny. I would love to see all these people argue against this. The fact of the matter is, NA teams have always consistently at the top stayed with the same rosters.
Sure.
And so that is the factual basis that you're working with. That's the statistical basis that you're working with, and that's what you're getting. And now we have no data at the moment about what EU versus NA, or what NA versus MENA, or what EU versus MENA, or any of these regions. We have no data on what it looks like when NA teams at the top make drastic roster changes. There's nothing. The only thing we're basing but then people are going to say, they're going to try to bring up the previous pass. Well, the pass is irrelevant now because this isn't the same
Oh,
G2.
no. Okay.
No, it matters. No, it
I have a
matters.
question.
Go
I
ahead,
have a
Spaceman.
question. I'm like asking sincerely. So if we're having the discussion about, well, NA's talent at the top, excuse me, NA's talent at the top stayed the same for many years.
They did.
While Europe was changing, right? And there's many facets within those arguments about why Europe was changing, maybe what the cultures was like versus NA's culture. But the clear at the end of the day, which I agree with you, is that NA's was staying the same, Europe was changing.
Yep.
If those landscapes were playing that way for each other, NA stays the same, Europe changes. And then NA this season says, we're going to change things up because we're going to take a little bit of what EU did, change things up. And now we have a brand new season. I agree with you. Brand new season, 100%. If now NA, just bear with me, I'm asking genuinely, if now NA is following in that recipe of we're going to change a little bit up and we're going to follow what EU does, if EU has been doing that asset and that part of their strategy of always rotating through for a couple years, and now NA enters that pool, NA is now coming in, let's say, at level 1, whereas EU is even if they reset every season, EU is now at like level 5 of how they've cultured their system. Does that difference matter? Because in my very humble opinion, I think that does matter because EU's been doing this asset of their game much longer than NA, and they're already going to be a couple steps ahead, which is why I think we've seen the separation between the two regions, though they're following the same pattern right now.
Yeah,
Thoughts?
I would say that on a, I don't know the word for it, but on a general principle level, EU. They're gonna have more experience and know how to change roster. They know what they're looking for. And I think when we start talking about the boot camp side of things, I think that will play a factor into that. I think EU players, I think they're thinking about who wants to boot camp, who's gonna want to travel and everything else, who really wants it. I think they're used to that. I think they know what they're looking for in that aspect. I'll give them that much. But on the other side, I'll tell you this though. G2 and Gen G didn't do that though. They just leveled up to 10. They said we gonna pick the best players in the game. We gonna roll with that. They just picked the best players. So the question is, at that point, and I think all these tweets, all these freaking out about. Cause I was on the stream with Arsenal. Arsenal gave a diatribe, a priest. He was preaching to everybody. I don't know y'all saw the stream yesterday about how NA has no chance. He followed up his tweet with verbal language and replays. And and if the G2 Gen Gs of the world they show up to the land, they can't compete. Listen, I'll concede. I'm not conceding right now. I'm not conceding right now because it's all just reactionary. It's all recency bias. And there's nothing to base it off of outside of historical connotations. But the historical connotations,
the historical results.
Outside of
outside of, okay.
I want to jump in here real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
There you go, Jack.
I think I understand what he's saying. If we ignore all the results, like it's different, right?
This is unprecedented, though.
It's the same group of players.
But they're all the same team. They've never done this.
But okay. So when it comes down to stuff like this, I think that you from the EU, you have that data, you have that knowledge. But one thing that everyone is kind of forgetting, and which is what I even said earlier in the show today, is that everyone knows what players can do individually. We've watched the game, we watched all these players long enough to know what they can do individually. But it doesn't come down to that anymore. It comes down to team play style and how you work together as a team. So when you have new rosters, that's what I'm saying. Like, take Luminosity, for example. Luminosity, if you put every individual person on paper, you're not going to have them really high in a top something list because you're looking at what they can do mechanically and things like that. But them as a team play really good, close with G2. And it's just because of how the team works, how the play style works, and how well people execute. Reynolds is really good at executing a play style that Luminosity has. And that's something that we're seeing with even hints of that we're seeing in Europe. So I think it's too early to tell just because you have to see K-Corp has a different play style now. They're changing things up. Genomates is changing up how they play, of course, to play better with Vitality. It's more defensive, but you're seeing players like Itachi, Juicy, and Seiko take Vitality to game 7.
Right.
So I think it's an overreaction because you all have to get to the same stage and you all have to play to see how everybody really matches up together. Saying that NA has no shot while all of these teams have gone through drastic changes, whether you think it's a level up or not, is just silly to me. I just think it's silly.
It's just impression bait.
I don't disagree. The verbiage of saying NA has no shot is harsh, but I think it's insane to me that we're talking about Europe, who has had the same a very large majority of the players that you saw this last weekend were the same players that we saw win last spring, and were the same players, and were the same players in top 4 of spring, and then the same players that were winning world championships last season. So and they've mixed up. They made those changes, Bates. They made those changes, and they just took down the world champs. So I listen. I'm not saying that G2 has no shot, but what I'm saying is historically, which I know we're going to ignore, but for my sanity, historically, we say this every time for North America. Oh, we made this change. We're going to win. We have these players together. It's our best players now. We picked up this player. We put them together. It's our best group. And every single time they've gone out and lost.
We've never done that before.
The one time, and hold on. I got you. G2 picked up Atomic, and what'd they go do, Bates?
And they made all of us to the world champion. I mean, when they ended up winning the land,
I'll give you that one.
And after that, then they won all the regionals. And then after that, they kind of threw in London.
No.
And then after that, they lost in the World Championship Grand Final. That was the last time.
I'm sorry. There's just no way we are going to take domestic results like that. And especially from an inferior region that has been proved to be an inferior region for the last few years now, and say that somehow winning against your own group is going to be better than winning.
Okay, so you want international. You want international? Okay, one land win, one bowing out. I believe they finished top 12, top 16.
Back to 11th and fall, yeah.
And then they finished second in the World Championship Grand Final. And that was the I guess
no. Then they finished top 8, and then they didn't qualify.
Didn't qualify.
Are you talking about this year? Which year are you talking about?
I'm talking about 2 years ago when they added Atomic.
Okay. I thought
what year are you talking about? No, no, yeah, I mean, yeah, but then the addition, in at least in terms of EU, relatively, how EU judges time and how long people are on European teams. Listen, that was a long roster. That roster had some tenure at that point.
Gonna cut in. Johnny said everyone said the same thing about FaZe last season. They were supposed to destroy EU.
Who said that?
That's what Johnny Boy said.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, and here's the interesting thing about that, right? Like if we look back to Winter Major last year, like the two heavy hitters going in were at the time that they around top 3, like we were maybe thinking Oxygen would make the run because I think that's when Rise like first joined, but it was FaZe and Karmine, and everybody was wondering like if FaZe Karmine, that's gonna be the two juggernauts. FaZe has the best chance at NA, and they were favorites to go in and make to the grand finals, and they did, fell up short. But since then, think about it legitimately, like who, I mean, obviously like Gen G finished in fall in the first place, but like they just transitioned to NA. But outside of FaZe at Winter Major, when is the last time we've legitimately as an esport had a serious conversation about North America going to a LAN and being a favorite to make to the grand finals? When we look at Boston, it was BDS or Vitality off rip. It was like, all right, Vitality's here, they're not going to leave. When it was Worlds, it was Karmine, BDS, or Vitality, like the top 3 favorites to get in. A little bit of G2 just for legacy run. Maybe they'll pull out one last miracle, but NA has fallen not just behind in the gameplay, but NA has fallen behind in public favor and fall behind in esports favor for the last like 8-9 months. NA is I think Jack's absolutely right. The verbiage is harsh. I think NA always has a shot. G2 will always have a shot against the best in the world. That's unfair to say they won't. But what isn't unfair is to say that last year was a bit different. This year, just the separation in the first regional alone, there has not been an NA team even right now where I would look at compared to the Winter Major of last year and think, oh yeah, this is a team that can make a run to the grand finals and really put up a fight against Karmine or Vitality or BDS. Like, do we feel that way right now? Do we feel that any NA team is legitimately going to make it to the grand finals and take down a juggernaut in EU? I don't.
I think it's because everybody's lost confidence. Everybody's lost confidence and lost hope. They've lost the passion. They're just letting France take over the world. And listen, I understand. You've seen the French domination for 9 months, and it took your heart out of it. But see, there's people like me who believe and who know and who've seen the difference. And I'm just saying,
sure,
that
I'm not against that, Bates. I'm not here trying to like rub it into NA's face. This isn't even my personal opinion. I'm just talking about what we've seen over the last 3 years. And if you want to throw in or open era or whatever you want to call this too, same thing there. Like, I'm just talking about what's happened. I don't like it either. I'm from NA. I want NA to be on top. I think it's good for the esport for NA to be in the conversation of having one of the strongest regions. But the fact of the matter is, as been proven by all the results that I know you're willing to not want to go look back on, but all the results leading up to the next result, it hasn't been the case. It's never been in NA's favor. And I don't say that to be rude or condescending towards my fellow NA friends here, but it's the truth. It's the truth. That's the truth. And you can have your optimism, and I share some optimism there too, Bates. You can have that. I'm not delusional in the sense that NA can never come back. But this idea that somehow over this offseason, NA is just going to figure everything out, I think is silly. I think they're on a track to maybe do that. But I also think that, by the way, Jorby's tweet was really talking more about the regions comparatively than just like the absolute top as well, which we kind of got away from.
Oh, you don't think Luminosity can compete against Gentlemates?
Oh, we absolutely can. What are you talking about?
Okay, that was the right answer.
We are
correct. That was correct.
That was the correct answer.
That was the correct answer.
Give me Slater.
There is one thing though that I do want to bring up. I saw it briefly in chat, which I think the one aspect that I don't think sometimes gets lost on like a general audience with the NA versus EU debate. I think a lot of times people are like, we just want to see good Rocket League. It doesn't matter about regions. The reason that region separation I think is still prevalent is if all of RLCS was taking place under one homogenized league in terms of everybody playing all together all at once in the same weekend, it'd be very different because the gameplays would start to kind of mesh a little bit more. And at that point, you'd see what you see in other esports leagues where it becomes less about like region differences and bleeding those cultures through, and it just becomes about the actual gameplay. But what we're still seeing now is we are seeing differences in quite like tactically European gameplay and how that's approached, and gameplay that's taking place in North America, gameplay that's taking place in in South America and Sub-Saharan Africa and oceanic regions. Like there are still differences in every single region within RLCS because we're not all playing on one franchise league. And as long as those differences exist, this conversation will continue to happen. So I apologize for that quick tangent, but I just wanted to give clarification to maybe some people who are wondering, like, why are we still talking about NA versus EU? Because the separations exist and the gameplays are still evolving at their own paces. This conversation will always happen until
I'll tell you why we're talking about
that
it.
came together.
We're talking about it because so many people freaked out on Twitter or X, whatever that thing's called. They all freaked out. They all saw Itachi beat Zen, and they said, "Wow, this is unbelievable." Then they saw Batura win. They said, "Wow, he's back." And then they said, "Wow, and it's terrible." Speaking, I just want to talk about the differences, man. I want to talk about the difference. I want to know everybody's opinion on boot camps. Because there's been a lot of talk about
I
boot
love
camps.
this. Let's go. I'm so excited for this convo. Let's go.
All right,
Let's talk.
I want to know everybody's opinion on boot camps.
Ooh.
Somebody set the floor. Because you saw that Achilles tweet. But then people were just saying the NA culture difference and
I don't think it's a culture difference.
No. It's a combination of many factors. There's the culture difference, boot camps. They want it more over in EU, yada, yada, yada. Somebody says, that's what's been going on.
Go ahead, Spaceman. You got something?
Sure. Yeah, culture difference. I think we use the term culture very loosely in a lot of these arguments, and not we, more of a proverbious we, like as a group.
I like you, Spaceman. I know where you're going with this
thanks,
already.
man. I think culture is used very loosely in all esports stuff, but culture means a lot of different things. It's an umbrella term. It really brings in a lot of different ideas. Boot camp falls into parts of the culture. Mentality is a very generous term, but sure. When you look at how teams are constructed, when you look at how practices are rigidly established by an organization, what the organization expects, how money comes into effect with both what salaries put on players and what they take away from players, like the resources available all come into the part of the overall umbrellaed culture. And boot camps are just one small but very important facet of how to have a successful team. And it is something that I'm not going to jump into the argument just yet about like the differences between traveling in EU and NA and the expenses and just all that kind of stuff, because we will get into that. But I think the general take that I have is that if you are not a team, and this is again keeping a very surface level on the terrain of assuming everybody has access and the orgs are going to help fund it, because that is also part of the conversation about culture. If you are a serious Rocket League team, if you are serious about winning, if you're playing in the RLCS to play to win championships, if you're playing in the RLCS to be a competitive player and to win at the highest level, if you are not attempting to boot camp as a team or boot camp in any form as an individual, I think you are putting yourself not only at a massive disservice, but you are hindering your own career to such an extent that you're going to see results like you see in North America, where teams are showing up underprepared and overwhelmed at LAN, because it is so much about preparation. And boot camps existed for years in esports, and the fact that it's a talking point in Rocket League right now of like, do boot camps really matter? Without diving super deep at this moment, yes, boot camps absolutely matter at the highest level of competition, because you're teaching players how to work in a stressful environment. That is the whole point. And you're getting them that camaraderie together. That's my quick take, is boot camps absolutely matter in esports. 100%. That's all.
So I'll go next. I think Spaceman's diatribe is on point. I think for me, it does come down to if you can do it or not. Because again, like Spaceman had said, we didn't really touch on it. Not every team can boot camp.
Sure.
Now, maybe the org can't afford it. Maybe the players can't afford it. People live too far away. We've seen that conversation that's happened online. See, where I'll put my opinion in is if you have the ability to do it and you refuse to do it. Because then that's where I'm with Spaceman on. I feel like if you have the ability and option to go to your team and sit there and hang out with your team and build that chemistry, then you absolutely should. And if not, if you're literally choosing not to, I mean, I'm questioning why I'm teaming with you in the first place, because we're going to have to sit, if we make a LAN, we're going to have to sit across from each other. And knowing the fact that we could have gotten any of these kinks figured out earlier on and you decided not to, really would have me kind of second guessing a lot of stuff. Because at that point, it's like, okay, then what are we really in this for, doing things for, and et cetera, et cetera. So I'll keep it short and say, like, if you have the ability, I feel like, yes, it's good. It's if you have the ability to. Of course, if you can't do it, you can't do it. It is what it is. But I do think they help way more than they could hurt. Would anyone like to go next?
I don't think we're talking about the right thing. I don't think anybody's saying that boot camps aren't beneficial. It's the
Go ahead, Bates.
It's the what?
Go ahead. I want to hear your take.
It's the combination or the conflation of boot camps within this NA doesn't want it enough nonsensical argument in my eye. Because one, I do like personally. I'll talk from personal anecdote. LSU versus Akron, LSU versus UNT, LSU versus Zona. If we had the resources like Akron did back in the day for LSU, Jack, you know, if Akron had a whole facility, if LSU could have played and we could play with each other in person, scrimmed in person, compete in person together, I think we would have had much better chance of competing against them. I'm confident that there's a benefit in having people playing with one another in person, getting used to that chemistry. You can watch somebody play right behind them. You can say, oh, wow, I think you need to do this a little bit differently right there. When you're in replay review, everybody's in the same room watching the same projector. It's much better than just doing a replay review because most people don't know how it actually works. People do replay review right now. They're just in Discord calls and private Discords or in private Discord calls, and they're just the coach is just screen sharing the replay. And it's not like an in-person communal team like vibe, and you're gonna get that when you're actually in person with everybody. But then to say that, and then to conflate that and say all the European teams are at boot camps, but the NA teams aren't, means that the NA teams don't care. They're like, how we get there? How we get there? Because there's so many factors that go into establishing a boot camp.
I don't disagree with that.
You disagree?
No. Sorry, I thought you were done. Go ahead.
Oh, no. He said, no, you can jump in whenever. If you disagree, I'm going to go on a line.
No, I agree. I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry.
Okay. There's so many factors that go into creating a boot camp. One, you got to know what the schedule is. You got to know when the season starts, in my estimation. If your organization, you got to plan that out. You have people's livelihoods at stake. So I get that. And then I was listening to Chalkcast. Shout out Chalkcast. I do appreciate Rizzo, CJ, and Johnny, but I've never disagreed more in my entire life. I've never because for example, Rizzo was bringing up the players take a pay cut. He took a pay cut. Why would I take a pay cut? Take a pay cut? I'm not making millions of dollars. I'm not taking a pay cut for that. Like,
depends on the priorities.
The priorities, no. I got guaranteed
I think
money.
You're absolutely right.
Guaranteed money.
Here's the thing. I think you're absolutely right, babe. Like, what I'm saying is not disagreeing with you on surface at all. You're absolutely right, especially in the way esports is. You take the money. If you're given it, you take the money. But there's a caveat, because again, this is not just a black and white issue. The same way that the umbrella term of culture is not a black and white issue. If you are given the opportunity to be on a professional team, let's just, like, for sake of argument, let's say G2 comes to you and says, we got a contract for you to ready to go. You're going to be teaming with Prime, Rizzo, and JNABs, right? They're coming to you. We want you to be on the team. If everybody on that team says, instead of making 15K, arguments, instead of making 15K a month, we're all going to make 10K, and we're going to take that $5,000 extra from each person, and we're going to invest it in our team facility so we can be in person practicing together. I think in that instance, that is absolutely a decision where boot camping actually helps you get better at the game, and this provides you with more resources and opportunities to win. Bro, that is absolutely a situation where you take that margin and you invest it in yourself to get a chance.
No. Because you have, and this is what I was talking about Johnny earlier in the RLCS talent Discord, because you have no quantitative study on that. You can show that boot camps are beneficial, but you can't show that you doing this boot camp is going to make it to where you're going to win X amount of money. There's nothing that you could base that off of. You're going to give up guaranteed money off the belief, and I think we all do believe, I think it's a very valid belief, that your team can get better, but you don't know by what metric the team will get better. So why would I do that? I have no guarantee that I can. I have no guarantee that I can make that money. That's my first point.
Oh, Corelli, go. My bad. Go ahead.
Well, I'm going to kind of deviate a little bit, but I forget about the money for just a split second.
The planning aspect of it.
The what?
Never mind. Go ahead.
No. Just forget about the money for just a second. In my opinion, and this is going to be pretty harsh, I think, but if you are an org, if you are a player, If you are in the business of winning, then you will make boot camps happen. I don't care how much they're paying the players.
Agreed.
I don't care how much you pay the players. Everyone's saying take a pay cut. No, if you don't want to, don't want to. I think if you're an organization who has a team, you should be doing everything you can to support that team.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of look towards the orgs, and I know a lot of orgs will be like, dude, what the heck, man? Like, we don't want to spend that money. But I mean, I think by your own admission, Bates, right? You're saying if we had the resources that, UVA had during CRL at LSU, we could have had better practice, right? We could have been held more accountable during our practice. Yeah. And I think the same thing goes for pro players too. So I kind of look at things and say, this is something that should be supported by players. And I think orgs make a lot more, or have a lot more money than people make it out to be. I think that orgs definitely burn a lot of money. But for me, I feel like this is something that if you are in the business of winning, and if you want to win, this is something that has to come with the territory. This is the cost of doing business, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Because if you want to win, you need to facilitate that winning. And that's what a lot of those orgs are doing in Europe. Now, the one caveat that I will say is when you look at K Corp, when you look at Gentlemates, when you look at Vitality, when you look at BDS, when you look at Endpoint, when you look at Resolve, and just off the top of my head, they all have facilities already. I saw some people, why doesn't NA build orgs? Yeah, I guess if you're homeless, buy a house. But like realistically, like a lot of these orgs, if they do have it, they're in LA, right?
Yeah, they are in LA.
You're at a competitive disadvantage already. So that's a 90 ping to the Ohio server, right? So like there are some structural things there, but I also feel like, again, we talk about like culture, right? Like I feel like if you are in the business of winning, which is why you have the team as an org, I'm not even talking about the players right now. If you're there to win and you want to facilitate that winning, then boot camps are in your best interest. In any esport. Forget about this esport. It's sports. It's the same thing. It's sports.
And in life. Yeah. You do what you need. You do what you need. If you feel like you can maximize your potential in accomplishing your goals, you do what you have to do. You exhaust all resources. Sure. I'm with you. But the only cause for pause I would say to that is that it's hard to do that when you don't know what's happening. So you got to plan it out.
Maybe when you say you don't know what's happening.
You don't know what all CS is. So I mean, if you don't know what that is, you gotta like you have people's livelihoods, and that's why I think the thing is, and that's why I disliked how it became like a players not caring thing, because that's like societal young people coming up.
I think players
young people coming up like
they practice.
Yeah, like everybody's practicing. Practice isn't always gonna be perfect. NA people in ranked are cringe and stuff like that. I mean, EU, I've seen Zen and Vatira call the MENA players cringe when they sweat for kickoffs. So if Zen and Vatira are complaining, then I think I could trickle down to the rest of the EU player base as well, in my estimation. I think that's just a societal thing. People don't like seeing other people try no matter what. They don't like that. There's some reason people don't like it when somebody's trying their best to get A's. Oh man, why are you trying so hard? 'Cause I want to be great. That's why. And that's okay. That's the societal aspect that applies for everybody in the world. So I don't like that aspect of when people talk about NA. And then two, and like I said, there's just comes planning to it. Somehow, some way, I got to do the research. The EU teams have figured this out. They figured out how to do it regardless of when the schedule is released, when they know about stuff. They figured out a way to get everybody there. They don't have to worry about schooling somehow. Somehow they've done that. But in general, if the RLCS season, for example, stays the same for next year, then you have something to plan for as an organization. You can plan out housing situations. You can plan out, since the organizations are based on LA, we're going to get something in New Jersey or something. We're going to move more players there if they're all like 18 plus and something like that. Like those type of planning aspects cannot be taken into account. You can't just move somebody. If I got rent somewhere, I'm not just going to give them my rent to go. I can't just break my lease to them and move somewhere else for 2 months. Like that needs to be planned out. If you can plan that out, then I think you would see more teams be in boot camps, especially in North America.
Yeah, I don't know how it works in Europe with schooling and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know how it works either.
I know if I left high school, there'd be like, for that long, there'd be a big issue. But I think there's a way. I've talked to other people and they said that they missed a ton of high school without issues. So it might depend on where you're at in the country.
Well, it's also just closer travel as well. They're not going through extreme.
It's all the same. Like when you travel, it takes a day. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's a travel day.
It still takes time. The travel still takes time. That's why I don't want to bring the travel.
I mean,
like,
it's all the same.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a very strong argument. I don't really.
Yeah, they might have like, it might be cheaper to travel. There might be that argument, but in general, the travel still takes time. So you still got to miss days. So like I said, like if the organization had that planning aspect of it, and then I think that you would see more teams boot camp for NA. And I think that you
Sure.
would then see then I think you would see whether or not the boot camps are effective or not. But to say that the NA players, they don't care, I'm sure there's some NA players who don't care. I think we've seen that before. I think there were teams that could have been boot camping that weren't.
Well, and I
I'm
think
cu-
if players
Oh,
show
man.
up, I'm sorry, Spaceman.
No,
I
you're
didn't mean to
good.
cut
Go
you off. I just want to add, I talked a lot about orgs, but I think that if there are players that are showing up to boot camp or don't want to be at boot camps, then like that's something where I would say, okay, they don't want it. Like
They don't want it.
I grew up
Exactly.
playing sports at a high level. Like I went to camps all the time. There's some camps I didn't want to go to, but I went there because it gets, that's how you get better. You play against the best. You kind of go into that chamber of practice, and like that's something that you need to do as a professional. Like if you want to be serious and you want this to be a serious league with serious players and serious organizations, you got to take it seriously. You got to show up. You got to put in the work. So in that sense,
Exactly.
there could be unprofessionalism. There could be, the whole they don't want it as much. But I think plenty of NA. I think the vast majority of North American players
They
want
want
to
it.
go to boot camp. They do.
wanna
I'm
win.
not going to
Yeah.
sit here in the face of all of them that are watching right now and say they don't
You don't
want it
want
or
it.
they're not working hard. That's disrespectful, and it's not true. They are working hard. But I don't know how much of the organization wants to spend that money, right? I know some people want to take money away from salaries, right? There's a lot that goes into that, and I feel like that's a conversation that the players are going to have to bring to their orgs, right?
Yeah.
I think the players are going to have to go to their orgs and say, we want this. How do we make this happen? We want to win. We want to win with your banner. How do we make this happen?
Yeah, I think there's a legitimate amount of responsibility. I think there needs to be some responsibility on players to this extent of if you are being paid a salary to be able to, you're being paid a good salary to play the game at a professional level. I think that they need to make their voices heard with their coach or with their org to say, we want to take this as seriously as we are being paid to take it. What can we get some
real
stuff
quick,
going?
real quick. Raul, have you ever had the option of boot camp in your career?
Yes. We actually boot camped the second place finish.
No, we're talking about for regionals, not for the lands.
Oh, for regionals? No.
Yeah.
Not as a player or as a coach.
No.
Raul, what was your experience like? You can whether it's with coach phase or playing yourself, like when it comes to the entire conversation about whether it includes the boot camps in the Venn diagram, or also includes just like maybe the mentality of NA. What is your perspective like? Because you have that experience. Like, are people off base when they go on Twitter and say NA doesn't want it as bad, or it's a culture thing? Like, what have you seen up close?
But my experience, people don't enjoy boot camps as much. I think a lot of players like the comfort of their own home, and that's kind of the gist that I've got from it. But I've known that there's been some boot camps that have happened. Susquehanna Sonics was a team that boot camp that I actually went to, and they said that they got a lot from it. So I think it is a player base, like on a player by, like you have to take it by each player. I think each player is different on what they want. So like you said, you either want it or you don't want it. And I think that's a lot of NA. It's just like there's some players that are playing strictly for the money and that all they do is just show up and get a paycheck. And other players are actually wanting to win and perform every week in, week out. So I think it is player by player basis and you can't really judge it. I do think that the players control a lot of what an organization does, which I think is semi the problem, because if an organization came with a budget, they would set aside that I think prices are extremely inflated, and it's a fact that EU players are priced less than NA players currently in our ecosystem. So if the orgs came to the NA players and didn't inflate the price of their salaries and everything, then they could distribute it to boot camps, and if the players then you would have a different conversation, in my opinion. But I think by my experience, it's a player by player basis. If they like boot camps or don't.
Which I think kind of goes back to the whole idea of, people saying, I think that statement is where people base their opinion off of just when they go to saying that these teams don't want it because they're not opting to do the boot camps, because they are opting to just make the salary. I've talked to this team wants me. I've talked to this team wants me. Okay, let's do a little buying thing. How much are you guys going to pay for me? Okay, I got the max. All right, cool. Got the deal. Now I'm just going to go and play my events and
Yeah.
do what I got to do till my contract runs out or till the next roster move.
Yeah. It's maybe it's not so much, this I think is a very potent aspect of a lot of parts of American culture overall, where because of just kind of the lack of social infrastructure, and it even gets into like the ability to transport players to like actual locations. Like we have no high speed rail. Our train systems are awful in America. Like I think it speaks to a larger issue of just maybe in general in small parts with contract negotiations of we've prioritized so often, and rightfully so, the contracts themselves of the monetary amount, that maybe we're not also asking, okay, what else are you going to offer besides the paycheck every month? Like, am I going to have access to team resources? Am I going to have a facility I can practice in? Like, assuming that they have the ability to travel to that, that is maybe also an aspect of North America that needs to start getting up on the curve of what else are you asking for in negotiations besides who's going to pay me the most, and I'll go get a paycheck for a couple months, and then when roster mania hits, we just recycle it over again. Maybe there needs to be an incentive for players to say, I want to get my money, but I want to figure out also how am I going to bring a championship to NA, because they're being paid to bring a championship, but nobody's bringing championships, and that's a problem. So maybe it speaks to something bigger, but who knows?
Yeah, overall, I think this is a kind of one of those things that is overarching. You take it on a team by team basis. Gyro's been in chat talking about how Dig wants it, so we'll see if Dig getting in that boot camp, and then you got a little bit more data. You can talk and debate about it here and there. But of course, we still got the rest of the topic shows. We still got some more stuff that we want to hit on. First things first, we got to talk top 10. So everybody lock back in, okay? Because Johnny Boy tweeted out his top 10. And here we go. Worldwide power rankings after one event. He's got K Corp at 1, Vitality at 2, Gentlemates at 3, BDS at 4, Falcons at 5, G2 at 6, Gen G at 7, Complexity at 8, Furia at 9, and Rule 1 at 10. What's the initial reactions here? I don't really like Rule 1 being played solo. I don't really like I don't get the G2 or the Falcons at 5. The Falcons at 5 is kind of high for me. But what do you think of Corelli?
Making me go first, huh?
Yeah, that's right. Get in there, pal.
I love the top 4. I think top 4 is really good. I think that the Falcons pick is a good one at 5. I think it's probably the biggest like debate point for me on this. I think at the very worst you put them one lower, but I mean, Johnny loves the Falcons, so I get it. Otherwise, Gen G's fine. Maybe I switch out LG for that. I don't know.
That's right.
But
that's right.
Okay, calm down.
Complexity. Honestly, I don't have too much of an issue with it. I think Falcons are really good because remember, this is the old Rule 1 roster, and they really started the uptrend near the end of the season. So I really like Falcons in that top 5, top 6 spot.
Sean?
The only two things, the first, I think I would flip personally, as much as I have ragged on NA this season, I would flip G2 and Falcons. I think G2 on their best day, giving that team more time to iron out the fundamentals and to work on their coverage of one another like they had in some of the preseason tournaments. That is a team that I think is top 5 on their best day. And again, they can always move up, but I think right now, even with the way they looked last weekend with close games and yada, 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 I put them to number 5. I'd put Falcons at 6. I'm actually going to, and I've been one of the loudest supporters of Vitality saying that they're like, I still believe them to be, when they figure it out, obviously after this last regional, I still think they're going to be the best team in the world. I actually, after this just simple sample size of last weekend, I would put Vitality 3rd and Gentlemates 2nd.
Oh my
I think
gosh.
Gentlemates were really, really impressive. Again, I understand that is a very, very small pick that only I will probably agree with, but Vitality still, again, like a top 2 team in the world when they're playing at their best. I think Gentlemates not only surprised a lot of people, but played phenomenally great team play. Like, we're looking at the way that Seiko looks like he's playing back to the end of the BDS stretch last year. He looks the most comfortable and inspired he's looked in a long time. Like, when's the last time we really had a discussion about like Seiko coming back to be potentially like a top 4, top 3 player in the world? That's how good this team looks. And I think that it surprised a lot of people how quickly they gelled out of the gate. Again, that can change the next regional, but that's my only pick. That's the only thing is I would flip them to number 2 just for a regional. But other than that, I think it's a good list.
Poll is up in chat if you agree with Johnny's top 10 or not. Bates, what are your thoughts?
I mean, it's just a clear impression for him. That's all it is. He probably believes it to some
Wait,
extent.
can y'all
That
hear
you're
him?
muted.
Is he
I can't
muted?
hear him.
Oh.
Oh, my bad. It's a clear impression for him.
Mm.
It's a clear impression for him. He probably believes it to some extent, knowing him. Yeah, I don't understand it. I don't understand it at all.
The top 10 overall?
Yeah, like which parts? Like what parts?
Because I saw your tweets about it. And I was curious.
I don't understand how he has 4 EU teams back to back to back to back. I don't get that.
Okay.
It makes no sense to me. I want to ask both of y'all a question because y'all were on the show earlier. So if Genomates doesn't beat Vitality off the floater from heaven,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go to you first, Sean, because you claim that they're better than Vitality. So at the moment, so if they
Sure.
if they don't get that floater from heaven,
Yep.
are you still ranking Genomates above Vitality?
No. I
Okay.
again, like
Okay. Okay.
the preface
Okay,
of
so-
the list was very much because of the result.
Oh, okay. So since they got lucky off the floater from heaven, okay.
Well, yeah,
and
well,
then
yeah.
okay, and then Jack.
Uh-huh.
So back to you. I'm going to you. Same rationale. So if
Okay.
Genomates doesn't get the floater from heaven, where do they rank then? If they lose to Vitality, because you didn't say there were 2, you're saying top 4. If they lose to Vitality, are they 4 below BDS? Like where are they at? Just curious.
If Gentlemates loses to Vitality,
If they don't
are
get the floater from heaven,
Vitality wins. Where do you put him?
I'm just curious.
I'd probably no. I think I'd just keep it how it is.
Oh my lord.
I think because I would have.
So
Well,
okay, so
what's wrong?
okay, see, so now I understand what's going on here. There's no way any NA team's gonna be in that top 4 until land. That's just what I heard. That's just what I heard. Because if they lost
yeah.
to Vitality,
Of course,
so yeah, so it's always gonna be EU4.
as of right now,
Unless-
yeah.
So
Unless
if
the
G- no,
next
no, 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 no,
regional-
no, 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 no. Because here's what it is. Here's what it is. 'Cause here's the catch to all this, though. And I'm interested to see what Johnny does in 2 weeks with this top 10. So if G2 wins again, they didn't beat any of those teams that are above them. So logically, it makes no sense for them to move up unless one of those teams absolutely flames out.
Or
Y'all catch what I'm saying?
Or G2
No.
do what G2 do.
what if I feel like that list changes if G2 wins every regional in NA.
But
Before
they're
they
just gonna
mention.
move them above. They're gonna move above Falcons. I mean, Falcons is a whole entire different discussion because that was just. I mean, I love Mina, probably second behind Johnny. That makes no sense because that makes no sense. Rule 1 didn't even make top 8 of the World Championship. G2 did that with Chicago and my boy Naps and Atomic, and then they just reloaded and picked up 2 better players. So how in the world are Falcons rated above? Rated above G2. That makes no sense. And I don't care. They're gonna say the TRK edition with the twins. Oh my God, so good. Yeah, it's a great move, but still, it makes no sense. Think about it that way. So like I said, back to the EU top 4.
I think
Yeah,
G2 can absolutely break in a top 4 real quick. I think like Bates, dude, I'm an optimist sometimes. I even think like next regional, if G2 come out and they destroy NA, like they play, when we all think of G2 on paper, if we're all sitting here fantasizing G2 on paper, wow, what is this team going to do? If they go translate that idea into their actual gameplay and then keep that consistent every single game and like come out and monster stomp NA, they could be top 4 overnight. Yeah, it's not about G2 not being able to do it. It's just this team is so good that they're not playing that way. And if they come out and show it, there is no debate that they are a top 4 team.
They 4-0 Gen G, who according
Wait,
to
they
Johnny's
showed-
list
they
is number
showed that.
7.
Yeah, but Gen G is not the same. Gen G is not only not the same Gen G, but they're also not the Gen G that showed up that weekend. They came out absolutely flat as
So
water
that's
under
where
the ground.
I'm gonna agree with Sean with Spaceman. I think if G2 comes out and they 4-0 Gen G again, like they just have to do it again. They just have to do it one more time. They 4-0 Gen G again, then I'll have them up there in that top 4 conversation.
G2's got a 4-0 Gen G. But Genomates can get the floater from heaven, and BDS can get reverse swept by Karmine Corp.
BDS is better than Gen G. So
Oh my lord!
Yeah,
Oh, man.
all 4 of the
I'm
teams are
giving up.
tight.
I've given up.
all 4 of VU is good.
Yep,
That's the
yeah, so
problem.
tight, so tight that they got reverse swept. So tight.
I mean,
Reverse swept in the
that's-
best of 7. When's the last time that happened? When's the last time?
Is that not the definition of Bro, game 7
Reverse
is that
swept.
not
You
the
lost
is that
4
not the
games in
definition
a
of
row.
tight?
Raul, how hard is it to lose 4 games in a row when you're up 3-0? Tell me. Tell the people. How hard is that?
The last game's always the hardest.
No.
To be there.
Okay,
Last
you got
game's
4
always the hardest.
shots.
Hey, they couldn't do it this time. It's okay.
Oh my lord! All right,
That doesn't mean the top of the region is not
listen, I
tight
just-
though.
They're also
That's-
playing Vatira and Rise, who are like 2 of the greatest of all time. So it's tough.
That's great. We got verse swept 4 games in a row. And for
A little bit more composure from Jolly. That series.
It's not
is
just on
close,
Drawley.
though.
He's got 2 teammates, Monkey Moon and Exotic.
Yeah,
Somebody finish off the
Jolly
series.
kind of closed out that.
Yeah, okay, listen, he had a
That's
back-
game 7.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. He had 3 games before that. Won and won. Okay, so now I know. Now I had to ask Jack. I had to ask Spaceman. Now I know that the EU top 4 is solidified. There's nothing anybody else can do. Okay, now I know. I'll wait till end.
I did just say that they can change next regional, but
I mean,
that's
for you, sure, but it doesn't make any sense because it wouldn't make any sense because they already whooped Gen G.
But you even said
But
Genji had a bad day.
I didn't think. I didn't say that. No. I said no. I didn't say Gen G had a bad day. I said Gen G was just playing their best game and they got slapped. They got whooped. I said
I think matchups matter. I think G2's win over Gen G is not as impressive as G2's win over like either a better version of Gen G or another top NA team. But I think like the wins in Europe have been more impressive against their competition because of the competition itself than what was happening in NA. Like
Floater
I just
from
think
heaven?
that's different.
I think
Well,
G2's best
here- so
wins
it's
is
actually-
Luminosity.
it's interesting.
No,
It's
it's just
interesting. So we
because like
watched-
you gotta think about it. World Championship top 4 teams are EU.
It's actually interesting. We watched that game when you guys were running through it. Corelli and I were watching that, and we were watching like the floater. And so we were sitting there and we were watching in the green room. And I said out loud, I was like, "What happened with that challenge from Alpha?" And Corelli very correctly was like, "I think they expected it to go off the ceiling." And so again, it's not like it was a floater from heaven that caught the defense off guard. There was a play on the ball. He misread a like fraction of the ceiling hit. And it eventually led to, again, their demise. But still, like, again, the fraction being a marginal difference on the ceiling touch down to a ricochet goal versus like a Gen G just honk shoo meing their way through the grand final. It's very different. It's all about context, Bates. It's very different.
I legitimately think that G2's hardest matchup was Luminosity last regional.
I think Luminosity is a great
Like,
team.
no
I think
bias.
I think
I think they're the boogeyman, but
I
even
think
they couldn't
Luminosity is
take
a
them
great
down.
team with a great system. I
Yeah.
think Luminosity's gonna beat the Lance.
I-
Luminosity's gonna make noise on the
That's right.
international level. Luminosity's a great roster with a great coach and a
But-
great system. So
It's a
taking that all into account, I'm just saying. I know. I just need to understand the baselines. EU top 4. Floater from heaven. That's how you get there. You get reverse swept, still get there. Your 4-0 Gen G doesn't matter. You got 4-0 them again just to crack the top 4. That doesn't mean you're gonna be top 3. That's to crack the top 4. That's to pass Falcons. Okay, I understand now. I understand the floor. I understand what we gotta do.
All right, keep the receipts, Bates. Keep the receipts. Hold them close. I can't wait for this weekend. That's all I gotta say. Now let's transition here. We got about 15 minutes left on our cable network time. Let's talk about chat. You guys voted. Chat was kind of split on it for the most part, but majority said Johnny did get it right. We did a poll in the chat, so thank you guys for interacting with us. Now it's our turn. Let's take a look at first touch top 10.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Here it is right here. K Corp at 1, Vitality at 2, Gentlemates at 3, G2, I'm sorry, at 4, BDS at 5, Gen G at 6, Falcons at 7, Rule 1 at 8, Complexity at 9, and Furia at 10.
You guys don't like Sam?
How do we not like Sam? We
Really
got 2
don't.
Sam teams in there.
Listen,
I
it's all-
know,
that one.
no,
listen,
I'm
I already
saying
told you I
move it
don't
down.
associate with these lists.
Oh, this is not your list, Bates?
Of course
I
not.
mean, I voted on it, but it's not my list. It's 8 other people.
So
7 other people.
do you move G2 up 1 or 2 spots?
G2. I moved G2 up. Well, at least 1 spot. I'll put him there. I'll put him there at 3 for now.
Okay.
I think that's the comfortable spot for G2. I think if you're being honest with yourself, that's a comfortable spot. Yeah. Also, I'd have complexity higher. I'd have complexity over Rule 1. And honestly, and then yeah, that's what I would do. But G2, that's what I was trying to ask y'all. Because to me, G2 is 3, and G2 3 minimum. Now, I think that'd always be the case unless they just keep winning and Karmine Vitality don't end up playing that well until proven otherwise. But let's not bet.
Yeah, much better than last time.
It's all the same teams, really, from Johnny's list. So
Yeah, it's just mixed. It's just mixed up there, a little shuffle. That's the FT top 10 though. Why? So wait, I want to know Jack Collar's top 10.
Yeah,
Or wait,
Corelli.
wait. Usually you're top 10, or did you do it already this week? I know I don't want to. I know it's your content.
Power
No,
rankings.
no. I haven't done it this week.
Okay.
Well, now's
Never
the
mind.
time.
Yeah.
Nah, I ain't gonna take. Ain't my bad. All right.
Okay.
He's got
Well,
LG at 10.
The poll is up in chat, and a lot of people are still saying Johnny Boy's list is better, of course. So we'll just move on. We'll
That's
just move
tough.
on.
That's tough.
Know your audience, bud.
Oh man, this one's at 73%. Literally, he's got 100 more votes than us. Oh god, that's tough. That's tough.
I don't know why you did that.
Qualifier chaos. Rebellion loses in qualifiers. TSM sweep Rebellion for the main event spot. It was not fun if you are a Rebellion fan, but hey, guess what? If you are a TSM fan, we got clips. Let's take a look at the series here as we talk about it. But yeah, Rebellion, a top 4 NA team in the last event. Now they have to watch this weekend, and it started here.
What a shot.
Yeah, buddy. These them boys. I mean, this is no surprise
That's
to anybody who's been
nasty
watching Hey Bro / TSM in the offseason. Like how good Hockey and Creams have ascended in their gameplay, just individually, and the team coming together and gelling from, it seemed like from RIP, looking even back to Tactical Banditry, like how quickly they were covering for one another, again playing like very similar to how some of the midweight to heavyweight teams in EU play when it comes to the team orchestration downfield, always getting back in rotation, always helping with the second man. Wavy oftentimes gets flack for being just tap and merchant, but like not at all how much he facilitates on offense. This team is really, really good. I think a lot of people still sleep on TSM, so beating Shopify, not actually that big of a surprise given what TSM has been able to do all off season. This is just consistency from them.
Man, I have to really eat my words about what I said about
Jack.
Shopify, at
What'd you
least
say?
in my own channel. I was just really impressed with Shopify in the Open Qualifier 1 against specifically M80. Because I felt like M80 was going to be a superior team. Felt like Shopify, I don't know if they had all the pieces there together. But man, I gassed them up so hard after watching that M80 series. Because I thought that genuinely was the moment I thought we were witnessing Shopify really come together. Like you get that part in two-piece combination. Felt like Justin was slowly starting to find his spot. And I felt like, yeah, they went and they died to Gen G later on. But I just felt like Shopify had finally figured it out. And I think TSM, and there's a few of these teams, but I think TSM's one of those teams in NA right now. They're all right next to each other. Like there's just this big group of teams that I feel like are all in the vicinity of each other. And I thought maybe Shopify was poking their head out from that pack, but TSM, I think, as Spaceman said, we casted a lot of them over the offseason. They've just been very consistent, very, very high ceiling in my opinion. And I feel like it's a team that really didn't get to show their stuff in the first regional. They, lost to 3 top 8 teams, I believe, in their Swiss run, but those were teams that were absolutely beatable for them. So TSM certainly showing their teeth a little bit more.
You
They're
know,
hungry.
It's interesting that you use the word consistent because I was talking to a player recently before the quals started, and they said, "Yeah, I think Shopify is a lock, like a lock top 4. I think they'll be top 4 every event." Dazzler, what do you think? I said, "No, they're too inconsistent," and we saw that inconsistency not only last weekend, but of course we saw it this weekend as well. This time it was just way more egregious than what it was before. But you can't tell me. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just looking at things a different way from everybody else.
What was inconsistent from them last week from Shopify?
It's their series. If you just look at let's just take a look at the Swiss real quick.
Yeah, they lost to Gen G. They lost to 3 teams: Gen G, Space Station, then Gen G.
Yeah, but they went 5 games with NRG, and then they went 5 games with Snowman.
Okay, so yeah, they played them close. But Snowman also went 5 with G2.
Did Snowman make it?
How's
Well,
that
hold on.
inconsistent,
Are we talking about playing teams close, or are we talking about who made top 8? Because you're talking about Shopify playing teams close, and I'm saying Snowman also played teams close.
Yeah.
So which one are you talking about?
Well, no, what I'm saying is that you're saying that Snowman play teams close, but I don't think either of those 2 teams are in this event. In this
You're talking about
second qualifier.
Well, okay, but I thought we were talking about just the first qualifier.
Yeah. No. I get that. I get what you're saying. Snowman did play teams close. I get that. My thing was, I also think Snowman is an inconsistent team. But the thing is, if you want to call a team a top 4 lock, then you're not going to have these inconsistencies. That's what I'm saying.
Sure.
And Rebellion is showing those, and they've been showing those. So I didn't understand why people had them at that lock because of that. To me, I didn't expect them to lose. No, I expect them to make Swiss, but I don't think I would have had them top 4 again. Maybe top 8, maybe, but no, not top 4 again.
Mhm.
It just, I don't know what it is though with them, because they have the pieces and they have the game plan. But I guess it's just something that's different with execution and decision making. It feels like their decision making is off, and maybe their comms is off, one or the other. But yeah, no, they have to figure that out first. For me personally.
Well, I can't speak too in depth to a lot of their off season prep because I believe, if memory serves, Corelli, we also saw Shopify in some of the gauntlets with tactical banditry, and at times they looked really great, and there were times where there was room for improvement, as there is with every team. But the level of consistency that we saw out of TSM, out of the likes of Dig when Arsenal first landed on that roster, out of the likes of Luminosity when they started hitting their stride, out of the likes of G2 stride, of M80, like there is just a floor that some of the upper echelon teams have started to hit in NA just to start the season, that Shopify can absolutely get there. But I think that is a squad that's going to have to fight through like the top 8, or they're gonna have to fight through like a gauntlet of an early round in the open quals to get to like a consistent top 8 finish religiously in these types of events. And if it comes to a point where they need to start hitting stride to get to top 4, they're gonna have to punch above their weight class. I do not know yet if this is a squad that can punch up against G2 and punch up against Gen G. They absolutely have the capability of doing it, but I don't know if they are there yet. It might take time. But
Well, they had 2 shots and they couldn't do it last
yeah.
qualifier.
So my kind of overall point is just like they have this skill. We saw it a bit in the offseason, but there are teams that I would still put ahead of them to make top 4 more consistently in NA than I would put Shopify at the moment. So
yeah, well, to Daz's point though, I mean the toughest team I think Shopify played was Dignitas in the off season. Otherwise they're beating Pirates on a Boat and
yeah, they beat Dig 3-0.
NRG. They did win a series off of Dig, so at least in the Swiss. So I mean, it's tough to gauge using off-season results a lot too, because most of the time you're not seeing these teams actually get a good shot at the top teams, right? They didn't play any Gen Gs, they didn't play any G2s. But I don't know. I don't disagree with Daz. I mean, obviously, now seeing what happened, it's tough to disagree. But it's a shame because I really like their series against M80, and I'm really sad that they couldn't get the job done.
I think the qualifiers are just really tough. I think there's a lot of pressure on these pros to be great in these qualifiers. And honestly, you can even make an argument that they might even be at like a disadvantage in some aspects. Because I mean, they have the pressure of the organization. They're the ones you have to tape on. They're the ones with the expectations. I mean, if I'm
But
somebody,
this is what you get paid for, man.
okay, sure. I mean, I can understand that argument. Sure, I mean, I get that general principle, but I mean, they got top 4, and you're out there just playing some hungry people that you don't even play against, and you know it when you play even at a high level rank. Like, and there's just that at least one team in every region except OC and EU, because they haven't played in the second qualifier yet, had a top 8 team from Qual 1 not make it into Qual 2. So it's gonna be interesting to see if EU has a top 8 team that doesn't make it into Qual 2, and that makes sense, because at the highest level of the game, especially on day 3s, you're playing people who are 2100, 2200 level players. Those are really, really good Rocket League players, man. And I get it. Shopify, and all the other NA teams, all the other EU teams that are at the top, they're supposed to be able to beat them, and you should be favoring to beat them. But there's also the case that you're not used to playing those type of players. Like, you got to respect everything. You're playing everybody. Shopify's gonna play the best in the qualifiers like they're playing against a G2 or something. The G2's gonna hit the ball at certain times, certain aspects, and you got to respect every single player out there. I'm wording it weird. I can't really word it how I want to word it. Basically, when people are really that talented, really that good, they're hitting the ball at a high percentage. And so you're going to respect every single hit. You're going to respect every single hit. Now, these players who are coming up, they don't necessarily do it all the time, but you still got to respect it, because on the one-off chance that you don't respect it, you're going to get punished. And then you miss out on those opportunities. The players also have to tape on you. And on top of that, the player, and then on my side, on the Shopify side, from that perspective, you have the pressure of the organization, expectations, and everything else in between. So there's more pressure on you than the other players. And when you have 2,200 level players who have absolutely no expectations and really no pressure on them because they're not expected to beat you, they're going all out. And then at that point, it becomes dangerous. That's a dangerous team to me. When when you're competing, that's just a life thing. When you're going up against somebody who has nothing to lose, that person's dangerous, bro. It's like watching Rocky. It's like when they told him not when he was telling Apollo Creed, not to go up against Drago.
I think
it's the same thing, man.
Wait.
Go ahead.
Raul, how do you feel about this?
He's gonna disagree. He's gonna say, "All right, go ahead, disagree. Go ahead. You get paid to do it."
I'm gonna agree with you on the fact that when you're an underdog, you have nothing to play for, so you come out hungrier. But I do think these teams are going in unprepared, and a lot of professional teams that lose in these qualifiers, they go into it thinking that they already won. So then they go into these hungry players who are playing ranked with them, or if they don't play ranked, then they're not playing ranked with them, but they're playing top 100 lobbies against Daniel and some of the best players that we have in our lobbies, and they can consistently compete against our top players. So when they go into these qualifiers against teams who are underprepared and go into them taking them not as serious, they're gonna smack them because they're hungry, and these players are coming in lackluster. Sure. And you don't have that many games to prepare. It's not Swiss. You don't have this time to ramp up and be like, okay, let's start to take this serious. But from experience, I know there's some players and some teams that go into series that you're going up against players that you don't really recognize or that you don't see that often. And you're like, all right, this should be light. And then they come out and they smack you. And then it's like a hard hitting, and it's hard to make adjustments mid-series, especially in a best of three. So I think that's exactly what happened to Shopify. They were underprepared, and they came in, they got smacked by a hungry team.
Yeah. I think you both are right. And I think that especially with this conversation around the entire discussion of the format itself and how to like help organizations feel a bit secure, that is something that we'll leave up to the players and to the community at large. Like there definitely needs to be some help with just the org structure. But I think that you're both right here in that this, like, at the end of the day, back when open brackets were like the main thing, and it was like you lose two, you're out. When top teams at other esports events that we will not mention, when they would lose, people were like, wow, this sucks because now we're not going to see our favorite team, and they should be able to be invited to like the top 16 or top 8 so we can see them play and they can actually play against real competition. The first thing the players would do would be like, no, we lost in the open bracket, we should have been prepared, we lost to randoms, and that's our fault. I think that, and this is, I'm probably a boomer here, and I apologize if this is just
big boomer energy about to come.
Oh yeah, but look, at the end of the day, this is just how I see it, and I'm absolutely okay with saying that's probably the wrong take. If you lose in the open quals, if you are not good enough to make it into, if you get beat by a bunch of randoms, that is your fault at the end of the day. You are being paid a professional salary to be a top player. I am not saying organizations don't need help, and I'm not saying the format couldn't be improved. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is, look at the hand we're dealt here. At the end of the day, you are a professional player. You are supposed to show up and be prepared and be the best to beat the best. If you don't do that, that is on you and nobody else. If you don't beat randoms, I don't care what their MMR is. If you don't beat them as a professional player who has years of top experience, like some of these pros do, world championships even, if you don't show up, and I know there's variance in Rocket League, but if you don't show up in a best of 3 and at least make it interesting or you get wiped, that is on you and you alone, and maybe your coach, but that's it. Look, it's a results-based league. That's what competition's all about. If you don't show up, the only person you can blame is you. I will fight to the end of time to get you more support and more organizational support and structure. But you have to do the work to show up. And if you lose to randoms, that's on you. You didn't do the job. Okay? That's your fault. That's it.
big boomer, 65-year-old dad who just wants to really water things down to the point where it's just, hey, son, listen, should have got the W. That's what you're giving right now. I mean,
Yeah.
fundamentally, I like to, on a
why are they
fundamental base level, you're correct. But then you got to compound everything else is on top of it. Yeah, you got to compound everything else is on top of it.
Bates,
And then
there
comes issues.
Like,
I
I'll
mean,
give you the org stuff, but if I can meet you there, if I as a boomer and as an old esports head can meet you with just the support conversation on like format changes, whatever. If the community wants to have that, I'm all for it. Let's go crazy. But if I can meet you there, the players need to be able to meet me in the middle here and say, hey, the responsibility for you to handle your business is on you. I don't care if you showed up late or you were late to scrims or you clocked in late and you got blown out by a top MMR team who just decided to show up for RLCS. That's your fault. That is all on you. You are supposed to be the professional here, not them. That's
At what point does the pressure stuff with the org and when does that go from confidence to pressure? When does knowing that stuff? You said instantly?
It's pressure the whole time.
How is it pressure? If you know you have all this backing and support, why is that not anything that just tells you
backing
that?
and support? The organizations are probably mad. They ain't getting stream time.
I'm saying before the matches. I'm saying before the matches. Like, why is this like something that's in your head? If anything, it should be just something that gives you more drive to play more than anything.
I mean, it might give you the drive to play, but also you gotta be worried about it. You have things to lose. You have absolutely nothing to gain by doing it. Shopify doesn't gain anything by playing these qualifiers. Let's just be real. That should be real. Like, Shopify just finished top 4. What am I gaining? Why am I playing in this? Why am I playing in this? And now they have everything to lose though. Okay, that's gonna affect their contracts potentially. Because now Shopify they're missing out a whole entire qualifier, which is a whole entire stream time. I mean, like, you might get a worse seed now. The seeding's been a little wonky. You might get another tough game. You might get a tough game up top where you play TSM again, and then you might have to play somebody else that's really good down low.
Then you better be prepared for what you're getting paid for.
Well, yeah, if you want to be in the conversation of a top 4 team in NA, you can't have these up and down performances in the open bracket. Like, at the end of the day, we're here to judge your results. And Bates, I agree with a lot with what you're saying. I do not want you to misconstrue that. Like, I am agreeing with a lot of what you're saying. I'm just trying to counter it with, dude, at the end of the day, if you are trying to be a serious top 4 team and in contention to be a top 4 team, to be in this discussion, our job as commentators is to say, hey, you're worthy of being in top 4. If you want to be in that discussion, you can't afford the variance of who you play in the top of the bracket, lower part of the bracket, to be the end of the discussion for you at the end of the weekend. You have to be the team that's good enough to get through that and to qualify to playing into the top 8. Like, it's again, we're also not talking about first years. We're talking about like a world champion and like players who have pro experience.
Exactly.
Like, we're talking about the Mount Rushmore of a player here. Like, we're talking about teams that have some gods on their team. Like, dude, the young kids are hungry. Now that we've opened up competition across the board, not only with the age limit, but also just the way that these open brackets work. We have opened up the ability for more acclimation of talent in North America to show what they got. And it's up to the pros to adapt. Like, if you can't handle that, there's a reason you're not going to make it towards the professional level. That's just the way competition works. If we want NA to get better, this is the kind of gauntlet these players have to go through. In my opinion.
This is a whole discussion. This is a whole discussion.
It is.
Oh my gosh.
So we might need you on the FT after dark, because my goodness, FT live time.
I'll be there.
Listen, we're going over the timeline. We're going over the timeline. Okay. Of course, something that we want to hit on: Akron Zips qualified for RLCS. Big shout outs to Akron, first CRL team ever to make the main event.
Huge.
They had a tweet out. Saw a lot of people showing tweets of their. Okay, my dog was barking in his sleep. They had a lot of tweets out of just how well the team was doing and just how excited they were to make it. I think this is definitely really, big for them. So we did want to be able to give their shout outs too, as they're able to do what they gotta do. Here's a list of all CRL players and coaches in this RLCS event. And as you can see, it's quite a big list, Jack.
So love it. This is a little disingenuous. I mean, there's some players, they joined, after they've qualified for things, into CRL. But on a general, there's a few players, but it's cool, man. Like I'm the biggest CRL shill there is, man. Like I want I want players. We've seen a few in the past kind of transition from CRL into RLCS or RLCS qualifiers, but I don't think up until this point we've really had like a true CRL team actually go through and qualify with all CRL players. So that's really cool. And I think it's really fun for the CRL fans to kind of see those players actually have a chance in RLCS. And hey, they finally beat the allegations, baby. All right, that Champ 3 league is finally coming out and showing their teeth just a little bit more, making it through the quals. So I think it's great. I think it's great for CRL, and I think it's great to see those boys play. I'm pretty proud of them, pretty happy for them. And I was watching their run, or monitoring it as they went through, and I think it's exciting.
I'm saying shout out LeBron, shout out the world.
Shout out the world, baby. Shout out the world.
W for them. Let's take a look really quickly at round 1 matchups. As we have for this weekend, I believe this RL Esports also just tweeted this out a few seconds ago. So it's also on their Twitter as well. As you can see, we got Genji OG rematch, Pirates on a Boat, deleted XD. Akron, the team we were just talking about, is going to play SSG. The Luminosity boys going to be playing Incorrect first round.
That's right.
Easy.
Easy. Another one for Slater.
Okay.
Another victim for Slater.
Another victory for the OG.
Okay. Dig's playing Omelet, G2's playing Leftovers, MA's playing NRG. Yeah, what?
Just real quick, shout out Pirates on a Boat. When Cheese was done with that roster, and like the power of a good coach, like it changes everything, man. I'm so happy for Chiefs. I'm happy for that team. I'm glad that they're getting more time to show what they can do.
Agreed. Genji, OG. I think OG will have a better Swiss than they did last time.
Hey, all I gotta say is these Luminosity boys, listen, don't run the G2 again.
Bates,
you're lucky you escaped the last time. Let's be honest.
You left from the clutches. You left from the clutches of the Magic Bear, of Cheese just sneaking up behind you, of Slater ringing one off the crossbar in game number 1.
On the line. Who do we want? Have the death beam pointed at Earth. You better hit it. I want
Slater. Give me Slater.
Give me Slater
every time.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to First Touch. NA Qual 2 this weekend is going to be an absolute show. Thank you to all my guests. Thank you to Raul and Bates. And thank you to you for being here in chat. Oh, gosh. We'll see you for First Touch After Dark, and we'll see you also next week here on twitch.tv/Rocket League. Of course, hey, boys, say it with me. 1, 2, toodaloo. We'll see you guys.